What's up, everybody? Welcome to PSI Love You XOXO episode 64. I'm one of your hosts, Greg Miller, alongside the future class of video games, Blessing Adeoye Jr.
Is here to kill.
Oh, I didn't get the full thing.
Well, it sounded like Blessing Adeoye is here to kill, so that's fine. Yeah, you can make.
I mean, that too. That too. You know,
I feel like that was
you never know what to expect from me on this show.
I detect no lies. I detect no lies. Blessing, how are you?
I'm doing good. How are you doing?
I'm excellent, and I'm excited to have a third chair for this episode of PSI Love You XOXO. It's none other than Christmas in April, Joey Noelle.
Hello.
Hello, Joey. How are you?
Good. This might be one of the few shows, might be the only show I haven't been on besides XCast.
Wow. Well, we're happy to get you before Gary Whitta tries to get you in there for something stupid. You know what I mean? We're happy to have you here on PSI Love You XOXO. How have you been?
I've been good. Just been playing a lot of them Outriders this weekend.
Yeah, you have. Hell yeah. What's your class right now? What level are you?
I'm Pyromancer, and I think I'm 15.
Very nice.
Maybe
Very
14.
Nice. Yeah. All right. So you're enjoying it. You're sticking with it. You're in.
Yeah, I'm super in. It has a super fun loop. I feel like it's a game that a lot of people are playing, so it's easy to find a crew to roll with.
Yep.
Kind of at any point, and usually the people are better than me, so I just get carried through, which is really nice.
Yeah. The scaling's the interesting thing, and people either seem to love or hate it. But yeah, when I jumped into your game randomly or whatever, and I forget, I was like level 15 to level 7 you were at, or 8 or whatever, and I was just fucking destroying everything in your world. I was like, I'm going back to my game, and then you just texted me like, thanks for helping beat the shit out of everything.
I know, I was not doing well, so that was a nice little carry.
I already told you, of course, you're here today for a very specific reason. You're here to talk about Ratchet and Clank 2016. Of course, that was our hashtag PSWePlayedThis. We're ready to talk about that. But I've already told you that tomorrow we're recording the Kind of Funny Games cast, patreon.com/kindoffunnygames to watch live. It is the Outriders review. We're going to have you dial into that voice only, all right? Because we already got 5 cameras on there. We need all sorts of stuff.
5?
Yeah, that's right, Bless. It's a big one. It's
have
you.
Have we announced who's on there? Who's on there?
Yeah. Thanks for watching.
I think I'm on there.
Thanks for doing the 3-hour stream before we did this. You know what I mean? If you also missed the announcement, me and Mike are going to beat the Outriders story tonight, so no big deal.
Really?
Yeah. The review for Gamescast is myself. It's you. It's Khalif Adams. It is 2 more people. Andy. And then Khalif.
Mike?
Yeah, Mike. Snow White Mike. That's right. Yeah, there you go. That's the team. And now Joey Noelle popping in to give her thoughts as well, because everybody's playing Outriders, and I can't wait to talk more about it. But that's not what this is about right now, ladies and gentlemen. This is PSI Love You XOXO. Each and every week, Blessing and me and sometimes Joey get together to nerd out about all things PlayStation. You like that? So you head over to patreon.com/kindafunny, where, of course, you can write into the show with your questions, your comments, your concerns, your reviews for the hashtag PSWePlayedThis Games of the Month, and so much more. Of course, on patreon.com/kindafunnygames, you can get every episode of the show ad-free. You can get it with the exclusive post show we do each and every week. And, of course, you could be watching live as we record it, just like Nick Ash is, Josh G is, more Don Pleases, and so many more. Thank you for your support. Of course, if you have no bucks to toss our way, it's no big deal. You can go to youtube.com/kindafunnygames each and every week to get a brand spanking new episode of PSI Love You XOXO Tuesday at 6 a.m. Pacific time. youtube.com/kindafunnygames, roosterteeth.com, and podcast services around the globe. No matter where you get it, like, subscribe, share, leave a review. It really helps us out. If you're on YouTube, please click the notification bell so you see when the videos go live. Portillo wants to get down. Hold on.
The king?
Oh. Did you kiss him or smell him just now?
Kissed him, but I mean, there's a little bit of smell in there too when I do that as well. You know what I mean? We had quite the adventure last night, ladies and gentlemen. All right, so as I don't expect either of you to know, I don't talk about it often. He has this abscess on his paw that comes back every few months and fills up with blood and pus, and then it'll pop. Last night it popped on my arm. All right, no big deal. Cleaned it up, got him taken care of, no big deal. 3 in the morning, 4 in the morning, he's vomiting. I got to get him out of bed, put him on the ground so he can puke, take him outside. This little guy, he's not having a good 24 hours for the moment right now.
Oh
no.
But I digress. Housekeeping for you. There's a new episode of The Blessing Show up right now on youtube.com/kindafunnygames. Of course, The Blessing Show is a video-only product for Kind of Funny. I think the only video-only product we do now. Huh?
We got party mode, the return.
Damn.
The momentary.
I mean, return. I guess, the Rogers recap video is fine.
Rogers recap,
and the Twitch streams, I guess, too. What is the most recent Blessing all about, Blessing?
Yeah, it's all about Elden Ring and hype for Elden Ring. I had on Timur Hussein and Imran Khan that everybody knows well. And basically talked to them about From Software, Souls, the history of Souls, Demon Souls, Dark Souls, and I talked a bit about why me playing through Bloodborne and Sekiro had me super excited to get into Elden Ring when that finally releases someday.
Fantastic. Go check it out. youtube.com/kindoffunnygames. Right now, it's up and ready for you. Also up and ready for you on youtube.com/kindoffunnygames is the Xcast. And normally, I wouldn't tell you to go listen to that Xbox shit. But guess what? The show is coming to Xbox Game Pass. The PlayStation, Sony San Diego's MLB The Show is coming to Xbox Game Pass because there are no rules anymore in 2021. Anything can happen. Just don't even try to make a prediction. So you can listen to, of course, the Xbox reaction to that. We'll get to our PlayStation side of the coin in just a little bit. For now, let's thank our Patreon producers at The Nanobiologist, a.k.a. Mick, Tom Bach, Elliot, James Hastings, Sancho West Gaming, Julian the Gluten-Free Gamer, Trent Berry, and Tyler Ross. Today, we're brought to you by Upstart, but I'll tell you about that later. For now, let's begin the show with topic of the show. Did I get you? That's creepy out, Joey?
Not creepy, but definitely off kilter for sure.
There's a reason the show isn't more popular. We creep everyone out. Topic of the show is our book club, which is, of course, now named #PSWePlayedThis. We are talking about Ratchet and Clank 2016. Of course, it was one of your free play-for-all games last month. It got a patch for 60 frames a second, and we said, hey, that's a great time for everybody to go replay it and get ready for Rift Apart. If you don't know the stats and the tail of the tape on this one, Ratchet and Clank 2016 came out April 12th, 2016 here in the United States. Currently, the Metacritic is 85. And seeing as how it's been 5 years, I don't think that Metacritic's going to change, but it's worth pointing out. I like this recap from Game Informer where I got an 8.25 from friend of the show, Andrew Reiner. Ratchet and Clank has always been a showpiece of next-gen technology. And while this entry's environments look a little retro, the detail in the characters and the explosion of bolts and gears are legitimate spectacles. The colors pop, the worlds feel more alien, and the heart of the adventure is right where it needs to be, with explosions and rockets lighting up the screen like a 4th of July fireworks celebration. When Ratchet's doing what he does best, parentheses blowing stuff up, this new experience sings its classic tune well. Joe, Anna, Noelle.
Yes.
Is this your first time playing Ratchet and Clank 2016?
So I want to say I played through like the first world when it, well, not when it came out because I didn't get my PlayStation until later that year, but like when I first got my PlayStation 4. But
Sure.
This is my first time at least getting to the boss. I didn't finish it because that last boss not super
I saw you
fun.
tweet of like, oh, this last boss, not fun.
Also, I'm not good at platformers, so I feel like that plays into it a lot of like, this is a lot for a game style that I don't normally play, but I really liked it. So yeah, this is my first time like playing through 99% of it.
And what did you think?
I really liked it. I thought it was fun. There are some things that do make it feel dated. I also
For
played
sure.
it before the patch came out, so I don't know what things have changed and stuff. But like the camera angles and stuff like that, always pulling you back and like refocusing for you is not my favorite. But other than that, I thought it was really fun. It's funny to hear people talk about it when it came out, because it just seems like, oh yeah, it's like a PS4 game and it's fine. But to hear people like marvel over the
A showpiece of
graphics for
next-gen
it.
technology, right?
I was like, oh, I guess I didn't even think about playing it with that kind of a lens.
Yeah, where it actually came out in the timeline and what it meant then. Bless, what's your Ratchet and Clank 2016 story? Or pedigree, I guess.
This is my second time playing through Ratchet and Clank 2016. I originally played it when it first came out, and I really, really dug it back then. And playing it again, I really, really dig it still. There are those things here and there where I kind of feel as far as like how it plays today versus how it played 5 years ago. Like there are a few things where I'm like, okay, I can see how this is kind of aged, and it's one of those things that you wouldn't think about necessarily automatically just thinking about Ratchet and Clank, because I don't really think about PS4 games in the sense of aging and how long ago 5 years might have been. But playing Ratchet and Clank today, I was like, oh yeah, okay, there are things here and there that I could see. But then yeah, there's the fact that the game is a remake based on a game that's from 2002, and the fact that this game is a game based on a movie. All those things coming into play are things that, playing it again this week, I kind of noticed those things a bit more, and I can kind of point to like oh man, okay, this isn't necessarily a perfect game. There are things here and there that I wish could be better, but also the fact that they're able to get this game to be as good as it is, with all these caveats going into it being a remake and it also being based on a movie, really impressive. And beating this game over the last week has me super excited to play through Rift Apart.
Yeah, I think, that's the interesting thing of, I remember in 2016 getting Ratchet and Clank and the run up to it and then actually having it. And these reviews and then actually playing it and talking about it, the conversation was always, this game has no business being this good. Because if you remember, it launched at a $39.99 price point. It was a movie tie-in that it was, oh, so it's not a real Ratchet? And like, no, it's a real Ratchet, blah, blah. And we're talking about coming off of A Crack in Time, which I thought was such a fantastic Ratchet and Clank game and had so many different mechanics in the way they did the story and all these different things. Expectations were so low for Ratchet and Clank 2016 that I really think it helped out. But I think it's now this weird thing where going back to 2016, and again, for my thing, for Ratchet and Clank 2016, I must have played through half of it because especially trophy wise, because I didn't pop anything for a while. Played through half of it at the time, and then just fallen off and didn't come back. And starting it up and playing it again, I was reminded of why I did that. Where for me, it is that, it's had no business being as good as it is, because I think the gameplay is awesome. I think it's so much fun to be playing it. But it is that thing of like, the story, which is they're trying to do a very meta joke to it, right? Of like, cool, there's a movie in theaters telling this entire story, so we want you to go watch that movie, and it's the retelling / rebooting of this whole thing. So on top of that, the game that's there's a movie based on a game, and now we have a game based on the movie based on the game. So what we'll do is in the game have Quark tell his version of the events of the movie, and it's like, I get it, but I think it actually then holds it back in a way where it doesn't have that level of Ratchet TLC to it, right? What I think makes those games so endearing. It is very, there's a difference, I feel, of what you're playing and what you're seeing in cutscenes and how that actually comes together. And again, I think in 2016, when you weren't expecting anything out of this $40 game, it was able to be like, oh, cool, that's really rad. Whereas now, where I am so hyped for Rift Apart, right? Where I am ready to jump out there and see that experience and see what I think will be the true sequel to A Crack in Time with the crazy mechanics and the crazy spectacle and all that stuff. To come here, it was like, oh, like, this is so close to the experience I think a Rift Apart's going to be, but it's not here. Blessing, am I wrong? Am I being unfair?
No, I think you're right there. It was especially fascinating for me jumping into 2016 at the time because it was my first return to Ratchet and Clank in a long while. Like I hadn't really played a Ratchet and Clank game since Deadlocked on the PS2. And so jumping into Ratchet and Clank 2016, there are things here, and especially when you talk about the story, when you talk about the game being based off of the movie, I think that's the thing that jumps out the most in terms of things that are kind of weird with the game, because there are story beats that feel like, oh, where'd this come from? Or like there are very obvious moments in the game where they're pulling in scenes from the movie versus cut scenes that are made specifically for the game, and you can just tell because they bring in like the black bars on the top and bottom to like give that movie widescreen, and also just the quality of the animation differs from the movie cutscenes to the actual in-game cutscenes in a way that feels jarring in moments, but then also in ways that story-wise made me go, all right, we're like, why is Dr. Nefarious here? Like, what happened to Drek? Like, especially for me I played the original Ratchet and Clank multiple times, right? I played it on PS2. I played it when the remaster came to PS3, and it's been a while since I've actually played it, but I remember it fairly well considering it's been maybe like 10 years or so. And there are certain changes in 2016 that they made that I don't really understand, aside from the part of, okay, this must be a movie change. This must be a thing that, or this character must come from later games. The Rangers must come later on in the series. Things here and there like that feel like, for me, jumping into 2016 had me go, all right, where the fuck did these come from? But yeah, I'm right there with you in terms of the way that it's tethered to the movie. I think is very obvious and definitely has me excited for Rift Apart and see like what they're able to do with it not having those same barriers.
Yeah,
this is all so interesting to hear because I knew that there was a movie. I had no idea it was tied into this game, and now this makes way more sense about like some of these choices are weird, and I don't understand why we're watching this. And so I just skipped through most of the story because I was like, I watched probably like the first world stuff, and I was like, I don't really care about this. I just want to keep playing. So now this is all making way more sense.
Kebabs writes into patreon.com/kindafunnygames, just like you can, and says, Ratchet is to me what Ghostbusters is to Greg. So I know it inside and out. I've written up a 4-page document on my thoughts on the game, but don't worry. To sum it up in one sentence, it's damned good, but it doesn't top the series best on PS2 and PS3. That said, I do have a question for you. How important is story in a Ratchet and Clank game? Everyone talks about how incredible Ratchet and Clank PS4 is, but the story is possibly the worst told in the franchise to me, leaving out huge chunks of character development and rushing over basic plot points. The story's been taking itself more seriously since PS3 days, but I've been hard-pressed to find anyone outside of the hardcore fan base who actually care about it. It's a great question, Kebabs. It filters into, I think, our main complaint, what we're going to get into with this game, is the fact that, for me, it's not that I want a lot of story out of Ratchet and Clank. It's not that I need all this stuff, but I know the dynamic. As somebody who played Ratchet and Clank on PS2 and PS3, like, you know the dynamic between Ratchet and Clank, so I like them being friends. So obviously the movie is about them coming together. The game is about them coming together, even though the game is very much like, I'm Ratchet, I'm Clank. All right, cool. We're best friends. Now we never have to reference this again or bond together. We just have it ready to go. And Quark and all these different things. I think it's that, especially looking at now, 5 years later, talking about 2016 after just having played it, I think so much of it is, you talk about it, Kebabs, everyone talks about how incredible Ratchet and Clank on PS4 is. It is because, especially now in 60 frames per second, but back then, it looked so good, it played so good, and the levels had so much detail in them. I think that is what spoke to that game being amazing and people kind of forgetting completely about the story. Because again, as somebody who really dug A Crack in Time, I can't really tell you what the story was. And as somebody who played them on PS2, I don't remember what I just remember them being fun and comical, and having that in, we always talk about how many games are afraid to be funny, and you don't see many comedy games, right? It's one of the reasons so many people are loving It Takes Two, is that it's trying to be a romantic comedy and succeeding. I think Ratchet always had that humor in it, and from these like cartoony characters like Quark and the interactions between them and the references to the guns and, the different weapons you're using. But here that just doesn't make it. It doesn't make it to the final transition, I don't think.
Yeah, that's like one of my things. Like I come to Ratchet and Clank more so for the personalities of the characters rather than the actual story.
Sure.
There are things they changed in the story in Ratchet and Clank 2016 that I'm like, all right, weird choices. I assume they're because of the movie, but also like I don't care too much about it. Like I wasn't that connected to Drek. I wasn't that connected to certain characters that were treated certain ways. What I am connected to are the characters' personalities. I loved Quark from the 2002 game. I love Ratchet and I love Clank. And one of my very few complaints about the game is that I don't know what it is, but something about Ratchet and Clank's relationship in 2016 doesn't strike me as interesting or dynamic or as fun as in previous games, and I don't know if that is
it's because it's just not fleshed out. Like,
yeah,
I think that's the biggest thing. He crashes, I'm Clank, I'm Ratchet, and it's like they have like one or two little jokes of like Clank not understanding a handshake, right? But outside of that, it's just like, cool, we're Ratchet and Clank again. We're just being Ratchet and Clank, but also not having those thanks, buddy, awesome thing, like crazy moments together.
Yeah, and Quark, I think Quark holds the same energy in this game that he has in previous games. I really love Quark in this game, and I love so many of the side characters. But I think it's the same thing where you get introduced to certain characters, they're there for a scene and then they peace out, or they're there for maybe a second scene and then they peace out again. And it feels like in this game there are a few characters who feel like their personalities really shine, and then you have things here and there like Mr. Zircon or like fun little bits
Mr. Zircon, come on,
that continue to shine through, but it's a bit more few and far between in this game. Yeah, I love Mr. Zircon.
So this is the first time I've ever played a Ratchet and Clank game, so I have like zero attachment to anything Ratchet and Clank. So pretty much this game had like a very short window at the beginning of like, is this going to be a game that I just like the gameplay of, or is this going to be a game that I'm also invested in the story of? And that didn't really quite hit for me. So I just I didn't garner like a huge relationship with any of these characters throughout this. But after watching the Rift Apart trailer, it's like it is fun and exciting to see like what they're gonna do, and I'm a little bit more invested in that story. And I also want to give Kebabs a shout out because I used the guide and I saw the IGN guide and I saw his name as a contributor.
That's awesome.
So
that's awesome.
Thank you for helping me get a bunch of those gold bolts.
Yeah, right. And I think we're obviously starting from a place that is, with most criticism, the thing that you didn't stick with or you didn't like about it, right? I think, negatives always shine through, I think, a little bit easier than positives, especially for something we're coming back to that I think universally, like, oh, Ratchet and Clank PS4, great game. And it's that weird thing of like, I finish it And I still think it's a great game, even though I'm complaining about the story, right? Because I do think the moment-to-moment gameplay is so good. But for who I am and what I think 2016 is, I can totally see why I didn't finish it the first time around. Because we're talking about it, and it is, well, the story is whatever. It's just fun to play. And, of course, yes, it is. I 100% get that. But it's also that I can see where I would fall off of that. There's nothing pulling me through anymore. It's just me going and, blowing stuff up and getting bolts and getting the next weapon or upgrading the next weapon. When my complaint with previous Ratchets, and again, this is just a Greg Miller problem probably, is that I love to get invested in one weapon. I love to max out one weapon and have it ready to be, the weapon I use in a game, not just Ratchet and Clank. And Ratchet, of course, doesn't allow you to do that. Like you can invest your points into the gun you want, right? I was doing for the pyro, not the pyro flamethrower, the one that shoots like the little the fireballs or whatever. Yeah, thanks. And that's great, but eventually in every fight, right, you're going to run out of ammo for your main gun and you have to start using everything and going for it. And so I can see where I'd be like, oh, well, I don't feel like doing this and put it down, because that almost happened again here, where me and Blessing were talking about this in the run up to it. When they announced the 60 frames a second patch, we finally talked about it. Just like, man, it sucks that's happening in April and our book club thing is happening before then. We'll need to have played it. Like, what, are you? And the Blessing was like, I don't think I'm going to have time to finish it. We have Outriders. I'm going to have Disco Elysium. This is happening. I'm like, I'm in a very similar boat, yada, yada, yada. And then they pushed the patch early and I went and played it that night. And I was like, all right, I got to fucking finish this. Because it is gorgeous at 60 frames a second.
Oh my God. It's so smooth. Yeah. Like I did not on Friday. I think I was talking to you and I was like, or maybe it was Saturday even. I was like, yeah, I don't know if I'm gonna have.
Yeah, you were very much like, I'm not gonna make this.
Yeah, I'm not gonna finish this game by Monday. And I went back to it, started playing some more, and I was like, "Fuck, man, this game is so fun to play." You mentioned not wanting to invest all in one weapon, but the game will inevitably force you into using other weapons. That's maybe one of my favorite things about the gameplay is the fact that there's a tweet I posted that is compressed to hell by Twitter, which upsets me, but it was me. In one of the levels toward the end of the game, and they hit you with swarms and swarms of enemies. And basically, in the way that the game works, right? Like you press triangle to go to your weapon wheel, which pauses the action. You switch your weapon, and then you can do that as much as you want. And in the way that I was playing, in that one moment where I had all these enemies around me, I was using my combustor, paused, switched to my I can never remember what it's called, but the ball that does like the beams.
You're doing it as it happens. Yeah,
as it happens. I'm switching, and I switched the Glove of Doom, throw it out, switch to Mr. Zircon, bust him out, switch back to my combustor. And there are like 4 to 5 weapons that are at play here that are making this action go wild. And you can see that Twitter has compressed it to hell. But in 60 FPS, oh my God, that was an experience. And I like that pretty much characterized the final levels of the game when things started to ramp up a lot. And it's funny because toward the beginning of the game, I found myself struggling a little bit in the first and second level because you only have like 1 or 2 weapons that you're rocking. And I was streaming it and I was dying multiple times in level 2, and I was like, I don't know what's wrong with me. I don't remember Ratchet and Clank being this hard. But when the game shines is when you have multiple weapons that you can bust out. Like about around maybe like a third to half of them are passive weapons that work on their own. They just throw out, and it creates this beautiful just like flow of all this stuff happening on screen, and it almost feels like a Housemarque like Resogun game or a Housemarque arcade game in the way that it plays, and I absolutely adore that.
It's funny to see that clip of you because I saw you when you posted it, and I'm very much like Greg. I'm like, I have one weapon that I like, and that's what I'm gonna play with as long as I can until I'm forced to switch something. So then to see you play and swap around and use them all at the same time, I was like, oh, that's how you're supposed to play this game. Maybe this is why I kept dying so much at the end. So maybe I'll give that last boss another shot. And
that speaks to something I think about it as well that isn't a turnoff necessarily, but something that's interesting. And it's interesting for when it came out in 2016, and I definitely think it's interesting to look then for a post God of War 2018 world for PlayStation, let alone, the PlayStation 5 Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart about to drop this year. And it's the fact that playing Ratchet and Clank 2016, it feels like you remember the PS2 games playing, or at least for me, or the classic Ratchet and Clank's playing. And I know that there's been a bevy of improvements and so on and so forth. I mean, leveling up the guns is something that's been happening for a while, but not the entire series. But it is that idea, similar to what you're talking about, Blessing, of it looks like an open world game. It looks like something you can run and do whatever, but there is a rhythm to this. And the enemies that are shooting you, even when they're getting you, right, it's because you're not jumping in the right spot or going the right direction, right? And like that was the thing for so many of the fights I got into that I found difficult in the front. It was the ones that stand out to me are the ones where I wear the jetpack, because I wasn't playing it the way they wanted me to use the jetpack. I was very much flying up to that level and shooting you in your face or strafing around, when it was like, oh wait, as soon as I would break my mind of that and fly way high or way low, especially in the boss battle you're talking about, Joey, at the very end, right? That was almost a game breaker for me, where it was like suddenly the boss could not get up or couldn't keep up with you. Maybe it's by design, but it is that very classic sense of battle where the boss is going to do this one thing, that your villain is going to do this, or your enemy is going to do this one thing, and you just have to get around it. And once you get around it, it's like when you watch somebody who's really good at Bloodborne go, right? Of like, if you know the boss and you know what you're supposed to do, it's easy to roll through and get whatever you need out of him, get out of there. But it's so classic. I wonder what Rift Apart is going to be like on that, because so much has happened since then in games.
Yeah, there's a certain stiffness. Like when I talk about the game feeling like it's aged in the last 5 years, I think there's a certain stiffness to how it feels, especially when you get hit and it staggers you a little bit.
Yeah.
Like the way that Ratchet kind of gets hit back and then like pauses for a second and you get back into the action. That doesn't feel like a 2021 game. Like it does feel like something that might feel more 2016, or might feel like something that was made in 2016 that's remaking something from 2002. Like I was talking to you on Saturday when we were playing Outriders, and I mentioned that man, I wish this game had a dash. I feel like that would add so much to it, because I think the way in which mechanics and stuff have kind of evolved and gotten more standardized, like this feels 1000% like a game that should either have a dodge roll or a dash. And I don't know if it's because I'm playing it at the same time as Outriders, but I kept wanting to press circle so I could get out the way, and circle in Ratchet is just another shoot button. And so I kind of had to make that adjustment of, okay, I have to jump around. If I press L2 to aim and then also press X, that'll let me do like my side flip, which is probably the most ideal way of dodging bullets and getting out of the way. But doesn't feel as natural when you're playing a game today.
The way you said stiff, I think makes the most sense, right?
Yeah.
I mean, whether you're talking about stagger or whatever, but also just the way you move, the way they shoot, because it was that thing of, once I learned how an enemy would attack, you see them come up again. I was like, okay, cool. I'm just going to do this, or strafe this way, or shoot from way back and figure it out that way.
Or like even when you use the flamethrower, right? And like the weird controls that you have to adjust to with the flamethrower. Like, going back to that, because I turned it on for a couple of times this last week. And that was one that stood out to me of like, man, like when I first played this 5 years ago, I didn't get this feeling.
100%.
One of the things that like did not age well.
How'd you guys feel about the selection of weapons? Because for me, I love so many of the weapons in this game. The one that they start you off with, the combustor, I was just like, man, you couldn't give me any better gun than this.
That was the one I leveled up. That was the one I got it, and I started investing, and I'm like, this is the gun I want to use on everything. And so by the end, when I can't, or not when you can't, but when you get out of it, I was like, ugh. And that was my thing, where I think I forgot, like we're talking about, of how Ratchet games are going to play for most of the game, and the game let me. So by the time I got to the end, and it was, my usual thing in the heat of battle is toss out a Mr. Zircon, because I fucking love Mr. Zircon. It's still the best video game weapon of all time. And then have the combustor, and it's it's maxed out all the way, so it's shooting out the 3 bolts at any time and going. And then once that would run out, I'd drop over to the buzzsaw gun, right, and start shooting that out. And when that would go, I'd go to the grenades. And then once those were out, that's when I always kind of felt like, fuck. What I mean? Like, this is like, okay, cool. I can use the pixel shotgun, but like, I don't love that, and I'm not sure how much damage it's doing, or stop if is that a passive thing or whatever. I got Glove of Doom super late, so I only really use that in the final like boss fights to clear ads, or like to clear those stupid fucking mines. And that final boss fight, Joey, where you're flying around fucking fighting them, and you try to land to get something, you get sucked in by those magnet bombs or whatever.
Yeah,
I was like, oh my god,
It's
so fucking
not
frustrating.
fun. Yeah, I was using a lot of the grenades and stuff like that, and I knew that things would get bad when all I had left was like the disco dancing one. I was like, well, this is not doing anything, and that's always when I knew, like, oh, maybe I should just die and start this over, because I feel like that happened a lot. I like the blade one too a lot.
Yeah, Buzzsaw was good.
Interesting. See, I didn't like the buzzsaw one. My go-tos were the Protoclast, which is the big ball you throw out that has like the blast that fire out of it. I use that all the time, because that was so great for area of effect whenever you would have small enemies coming towards you.
Especially when you upgrade it, like it becomes like super OP when you like invest into it.
you put it down and nothing can come in your vicinity, and it's great. And then also the pixelizer I used almost religiously. That was like my go-to weapon. It feels like almost like a shotgun, but it has long range to it, especially when you level it up. That for me was the weapon I used nonstop.
And see, I think right there, what's interesting about the two weapons you're using that I never did is that you keep saying, oh, it gets OP when you level it up. That was the problem. Is I feel like I unlocked those so late and went and tried them out, and I was like, oh, well, I only have like 3 more things I need in these other guns I've been using, so I'm going to invest those there, which means my Sheepinator like never got out of the basement, right? Like that
was the thing I was frustrating, because the Sheepinator was my last weapon that I got towards the end of the game, because you get it in one of the last levels, and at that point it's like I can't upgrade this thing unless I do New Game Plus, which feels weird in terms of the flow of the game.
Yeah, exactly. And again, that's put there, and I think in a very classical way of like, cool, you bought this game and you're gonna play it over and over again, right? Like you're gonna be drawn back through to go through, and now for go for a platinum, but like go back through it and play it again and get your money and time's worth out of it. And so I get that, but yeah, it just fell into a rhythm of like, all right, cool, I've already started investing in these other things, and I want the most powerful stuff I can have by the time we get there.
Yeah, I was trying to like spread out my points and trying to upgrade things so they're all like the same percentages throughout the game. And then I got halfway through, I was like, I'm just dumping points into stuff that I'm not using. So then I just started dumping them into all the weapons that I actually did like. But yeah, I don't know that I'll go back. Maybe I'll go back and finish the boss. But
you're right there, right? I feel like I'm with you, of course.
Yourself, Joester.
I understand it, but it was like, yeah.
I got Outriders now, though.
BNAC2 wrote into patreon.com/kindafunnygames and said, this was my first Ratchet and Clank game. Going in, I really felt like I was missing something. I know it has a tie-in with a movie and is a reboot of the series, so I felt out of the loop. I pushed on past that fact, and in the beginning, it was a real chill game to come home to after a long day of work and relax. But oh boy, when I hit those final worlds, my joy for the game came crashing. The amount of enemies that they throw at you was absolutely absurd and made me want to rage at times. All in all, I thought the game looked great for its age, with a few exceptions of frame rate drops when too many things were on the screen. But when I was able to get a PS5, or when I am able to get a PS5, I will definitely be interested in picking up the next Ratchet and Clank. Wow. And again, I think it's that interesting thing. I really appreciate BNAC being like, my first time playing a Ratchet game, and then talking about being out of loop when it comes to the story. But then I also think, as I said earlier, right, like me starting it and playing it and like kind of forgetting what a Ratchet game is going to be like. I'm like, oh right, I have to use every weapon. I have to be out there, because it will. If you experiment, you'll find these things that are going to work with area of effect. They're going to do something different.
Yeah, it's fun to hear people talk about them jumping into Ratchet for the first time with in this game, and getting a gauge of what their interest in the story is, because I think that I realized the second time around is a big thing that is pulling me through the game is basically my connection to the original game. Like I remember in 2016, my first time playing through Ratchet and Clank, with each new level, I remember having the feeling of, oh yeah, I remember this level from the 2002 game. Oh shit, I remember doing the grind rail stuff. Oh man, I remember the gravity boots and all this shit.
Well, there's that great joke in the very beginning when you run into that guy in the World 1, right? And he's like, well, see you the next reboot or whatever. Yeah. They're making the meta joke, right, of already that they're retelling the story.
Yeah, and this time around, I kind of had the same thing where I would get to a new level and I'd be like, oh yeah, I remember doing this in the original game. And I never thought about the fact that for people who might not have that same affection for the original game, or might not have played the original game at all, jumping into this game might not feel as exciting or as interesting, because the story by itself in this version of the game is serviceable, but I don't think it's amazing. Like I don't think it
does not, as we talked about earlier in one of the questions, right? Like it does not hit. It does not say, hey, this is what makes Ratchet's story special. This is what makes these characters special. It gives you a glimpse of the weapons and the gameplay, and like, okay, you get all of that, but I don't think it hooks you in the way of like, oh yeah, this is what Ratchet and Clank is and why it's like a storied franchise for PlayStation.
Yeah, the 2016 one was my first Ratchet game too, and. Yeah, it was one of those things where, I didn't really care about the story, but I loved the interactions between each characters. Like when you're playing throughout the game, throughout the levels and stuff, and you're kind of getting like back and forths and like commentary from like the mayor in one city and stuff like that. That was the stuff that I liked, was like kind of like exploring the world and each planet and stuff like that. And that was what really caught me for my first.
And again, I think it nails all that stuff, right? Where yeah, for me, playing through it and walking into a room like, wait a second, you go around that corner and you find a gold bolt, or you just find something to smash, or just the idea, going through and finding new crates to smash to get more bolts. They do so many
Lego game kind of thing.
Totally. And they do it so well, right? Of so many times you going down a hallway and there's like a graded window and you see the bolt in the distance. You're like, I can't get it right now. I don't know how it wants me to get it, but I will. Like that happened early on with one of the Clank missions, infiltrating HQ or whatever, maybe even leaving it, seeing one. And then towards the very end on the final run, when I came back with Ratchet and had the jetpack or whatever and was able to scoot over there and get it, I was like, man, that's like, I forgot all about this bolt, but I saw it there and I was able to go back and get it. Like the level design's masterclass. Like I think that's, you can't, for everything else you're getting hung up on.
A critique I do have with this, though, and it kind of piggybacks off of both what Barrett just said and what you just said, Greg, is the ways in which they use the characters feel tethered to the 2002 game, where you meet Skid McMarx, and Skid McMarx is like this fun, goofy character, but you only meet him like once or twice. Like same with I forget their names, but they're characters that are basically, I guess, twins or brothers or whatever. And they made the joke of like, you're uncanny or whatever. Like you look just like your brother. Couldn't tell if that was a joke.
The dude who runs the garage, and then his brother. That's like the island world that you help with.
Yeah. In that moment, I was like, is this a joke because he doesn't look like his brother, or does he look exactly like his brother? I couldn't tell you what the joke was because I already forgot what his brother looked like by the time I got there. But like those characters come few and far between, and I don't feel like you meet the characters enough in the world, especially the characters that I feel like are super funny. Like you get Captain Quark all the time, but even Drex as one of the main villains, I feel like comes through super late. And in the original game, I remember Drek being there way more. Like I want to say when you get the infobots, Drek was there at like every other one, and you were getting more and more info on him as the game would go. But in this game, they kind of introduced Drek as this main villain and then replace him a little bit after, and I feel like they discard characters very freely in this one.
Again, like I think you're nailing one of the game's like problem at its core is the fact that not only is it trying to hang its hat on, hey, you probably already played this and know it's a reboot, it's also trying to hang its hat on a movie. And so you do, again, back to the no business being this good idea, where it was like, this was a movie tie-in game to a movie nobody really was super excited about, and then came out and nobody saw. I remember, I didn't even see this thing. Nobody at Kind of Funny saw this thing. A PlayStation movie dropped.
Playing the 2002 game back in the day, I remember at the time being like, oh man, I would love a Ratchet and Clank DreamWorks movie or Pixar movie or whatever. And the movie came out and I didn't watch it. I was just like, no, look at the reviews. I'm not watching this thing.
And so that's the thing is like, I think I get it because they're trying to do something different but same, right? Where it's like, how many times growing up did we play the movie tie-in to a game, or I'm sorry, a movie tie-in game, and you'd play it and be like, I'm doing the exact same thing that the movie did. This is boring. I know how it's going to end. And so for them to come in and be like, how do we spin that on its head and do something different with it? Oh well, it's going to be a companion piece, right? You'll have seen the movie, you'll come, or you're a fan of the 2002 and you're coming back. Like, they did this. They made a bet here that I think works better in 2016 than it does now, even where we're more removed. Everybody just remembers the gameplay of it, not necessarily the story of it. And again, it's why this game, and again, that I enjoyed, that I had fun with, and I'm glad I saw through. It's why this game makes me so excited for Rift Apart, because it is Rift Apart. Hey, cool. We're fucking Insomniac. Here's a Ratchet and Clank game. That's the game that's going to stand on its own and tell you the story and do what you want to do, all the things we love doing with these characters.
Yeah, I watched a trailer for Rift Apart right before this episode just to remind myself, now that I've played Ratchet and Clank again, remind myself how Rift Apart looks, at least in the trailers, compared to the original. And man, it looks insane. Like, it looks otherworldly, seeing the gameplay. And it's that thing of, I'm mentioning earlier that it feels like the game has aged in the last 5 years, but then also it feels like the game is definitely a remake of a 2002 game. Even from the get-go, where you're playing as Clank and you're running from one of the big robots, it's like swinging at you, and that happens a few times in the game.
Yeah.
The first time that happened, I was like, "Is this in slow motion? Something about
Are we running at the camera? Is that really what we're doing right now?
Like something about this feels off. Like this is supposed to be a set piece, but it does not feel like a set piece. The way that I think of a set piece today. And in Rift Apart, I'm not expecting that. Right? Like, in Rift Apart, I'm expecting, if they do that same thing, I'm expecting it to be way more dynamic. I'm expecting there to be way more like items falling all around the place. I'm expecting more like quickness in terms of like the way the NPC like waves his hammer or whatever he's waving at you, and like I expect the speed of it to be way quicker than what we got, because in this game
100%.
in 2016 it just feels so sluggish and slow and old at this point.
Fair enough, yeah. And I think this is one I wanted to tie in, jumping off of that, right? Parker Beagle wrote into patreon.com/kindoffunnygames, just like you can, and says, I'm replaying through Ratchet and Clank 2016 on my PS5, and I'm into it, ... but it's just not the same as Ratchet and Clank 2002 on the PS2. I feel like the 2016 version is somewhat childish. I see what they're trying to do with the movie tie-in, and it is an absolutely beautiful game, but it just doesn't hit the same. Is this because of my childhood nostalgia? I was like 10 when I played the OG game. Or is the PS2 version really that good? Up Your Arsenal, Deadlock, and Beyond became more and more innovative, and I feel like the new Ratchet is just reskinned, prettier, and kind of childish. I almost feel bad saying it, but what does Kind of Funny think, right? Like, childish, I think, carries with it a connotation of it like being it's a kid's game or whatever. And as Joey's talking about, as I'm talking about this fight, as the comment was like, the game gets fucking tough if you're not doing things in a very specific way. But there were times where I felt, a lot of times where I kind of felt on autopilot with it. And like, yeah, those Clank missions of slowly running at the camera and dodging this thing, I was like, this isn't fun. Like, this isn't a fun thing. This is a simple thing that they're doing. And I feel like there is that thread of it of simpleness. Am I wrong, Joey? Did you see that?
Yeah, I feel like the only other place that I saw it like that was with the grind rail things. The controls for that did not feel good. And I feel like the last one in particular, when you're hopping around a lot,
it goes on for a long time. I was like,
a long time to get through it. And I was like, oh, this has not aged well. And so I see it in that too. Hopefully. I mean, I imagine Insomniac knows all of these things as well.
Oh my God, 100%. Yeah.
Knows exactly what they're going to fix moving on. Yeah. It's hard for me to say with I do see it as like a kiddie game, and I don't know why, if it's just because it's a franchise that's been around for so long, but like there's obviously a difficulty spike and stuff with it that I still find it enjoyable today. But it's kind of hard for me to speak on that because I don't have like any huge nostalgic pull for it.
Yeah, I probably played the PS2 game when I was like 9 years old, and then I played it again when it came to PS3 when I was maybe 16, 17. And I think there is a certain element of personality that is lost a little bit with the remake, and it kind of alludes to what I was talking about earlier, where Ratchet and Clank, I think, have lost a little bit of their personality and some of what that made that dynamic a bit fun. And it reminds me a little bit of Blue Point in their remakes. They're fans of both Shadow Colossus and Demon Souls, and I think it happens more with Demon Souls, where there are folks I talk to who are like, yeah, no, like, I mean, Blue Point is talented, but there is elements that get lost when you're remaking it. Like whether it is like some of the art style or some of the direction that felt like it was part of the soul that Miyazaki was trying to put in the game. So that gets lost. Like there's certain elements that when you aren't or when you're trying to adapt something that is meant for 2018, 2019, 2020, 2021, I guess 2016 in this case, you can kind of lose that because you are going for polish and you're going for graphics and you're going for all these different things. I was looking at gameplay a few days ago of the 2002 game, and I had moments where I was like, man, the menu in the 2002 game, I forgot how memorable it felt. Like there are things about how like you navigate in that world and menu, and then when you go back, there's like a certain animation to the way that Ratchet's still animation kind of moves around, and when you do the move where you jump in the air and then smash down the Omni wrench, there's like a certain angle it comes down with in the PS2 game and stuff like that isn't here. And I'm kind of with the person who wrote in the question, right? I can't tell if it's just pure nostalgia or if it is something that is a bit more valid in terms of the goal of this game. The vision for this game is to be a revamped, revitalized, remastered version of an old game, or maybe there was something lost, but I also can't tell.
Yeah, I think so much of it is that first time you see it in the time period of it. And I think you get to 2016 with this game, and even with, Reiner's review that we read at the top, right? Like he's talking about it wearing fitted places and the action being the real centerpiece. But even then you talk about that 5 years later and it's going to be different. And like, as you're talking, I'm clicking through the PlayStation Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart extended gameplay demo from August that has 2.2 million views, right? And like, it looks fucking incredible. Yeah. Like, it looks insane, right? And again, to Reiner's thing, right? A showpiece of next-gen technology. Like, that's what you're seeing here. And it looks like a mashup of what we're saying. Like, Joey, if you haven't watched it recently, like, you can go in and jump and look at like how they're doing grind rails, and it's like, yeah, that looks way more exciting than what we just did in this one, where we slowly hopped side to side, left to right, trying to make this go as you get around and jump through these different worlds and stuff like that. So yeah, like, I think it is just the age of this game, and I think it is also like the mission statement of this game, the 2016 Ratchet, which was trying to be this, let's give you a jumping on point that's tied to the movie, that's a throwback to the thing. And I think you put that much baggage on it and you're going to get a specific product. Whereas right now, if you're watching while we talk on YouTube and looking at the Rift Apart gameplay here, like, this already looks light years ahead of what we just did. And, I think will be Insomniac's response to the success of this, of course, because people love, Ratchet and Clank 2016's gameplay, but also then, the story and the character, and the, like, right here as you transition into this cutscene, right, as this guy giving you the business, like, that's gonna be more fun, I think. And that's the biggest thing I think that Ratchet and Clank's supposed to be, is fun.
Yeah, I'm watching 2002 Ratchet and Clank gameplay as we speak, and there is something in terms of, like, it is a 2002-esque 3D platformer. Like, when you're talking about style and attitude and all the color and all this stuff that I don't think can carry over when you're remaking a game in 2016. Like, a lot of it, I think is to the earlier question, I think is lost a bit, because I don't know how you adapt a lot of this stuff. Like, looking at the character animations, looking at the cutscenes, like, yeah, when they are remaking assets and so they look way better, but then also some of the stuff is just very much a product of the time when you're talking about, like, the attitude of it that gets lost. But yeah, like, looking at Rift Apart gameplay, I mentioned earlier, right, that I didn't love starting off with the combustor. They're showing off, like, the burst pistol and some of the other, like, laser weapons in the game, and I cannot fucking wait, because that is what I
mean,
want.
and that's the thing, is, like, look at how fast all this action is. Like, there wasn't this feeling in 2016. Like, I didn't feel like combat felt like this in 2016. Before we get out of here, I want to get you one from Brandon K. Gon, who wrote into patreon.com/kindoffunnygames with a long one, but you'll understand why. Personally, I champion this game to such a degree that I feel it's the most underrated PlayStation 4 exclusive, bar none. It's a wonderful action platformer, and in a series built on beautiful levels and wacky weapons, this reboot is the franchise's greatest hits entry on both. Everything looks gorgeous. Until the imminent Rift Apart, this is easily the best looking Ratchet and Clank from environmental design, art direction, and weapon effects like sparks and explosions. While the movie segments are noticeable from the in-engine cutscenes, as you pointed out, Blessing, they still look quite nice, though I would have preferred one uniform look to any story segments. The gameplay is actually my favorite aspect. All the weapons feel unique from each other and have memorable effects, like the dance-inducing Groovatron and your mini-mech man of mayhem, Mr. Zircon. I also love how the more you use the weapons and spend raritanium, the game's more scarce currency, the more you'll upgrade and gain effects. While weapons being upgraded has been around since the second Ratchet and Clank, aka Going Commando, I think it's really neat you can buy super powerful versions in challenge mode and level those up as well. As a joy to play, I do have some criticisms. As it is a joy to play, I have some criticisms. The story, while a revised version of the original, isn't as good for me personally, though it does a pretty good job of keeping up with the major plot. Second, as I said earlier, some planets and areas were not brought over. I'm currently doing a full series replay, so it's still fresh in my mind, but the areas that were cut are a bummer because they were some of the original game's best segments, like Quark's obstacle course on Umbris, or the Deep Space Gremlin base, to name a couple. My last criticism is the game is too faithful with the areas that are brought over, meaning that if you know where the secret places are and hidden gold bolts are from the 2002 game, there's no difference, making a large portion of the secret hunting a bit too easy for veterans. However, despite all this, it's my favorite game of all the Ratchet and Clanks. Again, until we see how Rift Apart introduces new mechanics and concepts, this is the series as it is most refined. This is the series at its most refined. While many will point to A Crack in Time as their favorite, what? I feel the game does the best job in every facet it strives for. So, Brandon really liked it. And I agree with a lot of what he said. Like, I think we're being more negative on this, but we're judging a 2016 remake of a 2002 game in 2021. So there's a lot of time and game mechanics that have gone here, and it does its job for me and what I've seen people who wrote in about it, even if they didn't dig and vibe with it or like got stuck on something like Joey, right? Like, it did its job of, hey, this was a lot of fun, especially for an old game. I can't wait to see what a 2021 one's going to look like.
Yeah, like I adore this game. You know, like I think Brandon summed it up very good. I did notice that for some reason this playthrough, I guess I forgot that it wasn't in this game, but I was waiting to get to the Gemlick base that he named, and once he got past it, I was like, oh, I guess that wasn't here. I guess that does feel like a little bit of a weird omission, but I'd say that this game, the way this game comes together entirely is really tight. It is really like the game doesn't really have fat to it, which is the thing that I appreciate. Like they didn't really stick with any of the bullshit that might have been in there in the PS2 game for better and maybe in some cases for worse. But I really do appreciate this game. Playing it, Greg, I'm with you that playing it in 2021 shines on some of the critiques there are to have with it. But I think the game is phenomenal and like a must play if you are a PlayStation fan that is looking to play like the best of PlayStation games.
And as for when it came out in 2016, I will say this for on a gameplay level is that like that final boss, even though like Joey had some frustrations with it, Greg, I
also had a glitch. On that one too.
Oh yeah, so you tweeted out the glitch where like he just like went away.
Like
right?
I beat him at 60%. It's actually really, Bear, if you're able to bring it up, it's actually amazing because basically I'm like in the middle of fighting him and then immediately cuts the credits randomly and it's like, wait,
it's so weird. Yeah.
How do I get that glitch?
Yeah, hold on.
I know, right? I only get the bad ones.
It was legit my second or third try.
When when it was rumored that Spider-Man was being made, and it was the Infamous devs doing it, right? And that was like it was Sucker Punch doing it and all that stuff. And then Insomniac was announced for it. There was like a lot of like, oh, that's an interesting choice, but cool. Like I remember the first thing I thought of, and that's the boss glitching.
Done. See you later. You did it.
60%.
Did it pop the trophy? Are you already?
No, I already had the trophy.
That's so funny. I remember thinking right when Insomniac was announced as the dev for Spider-Man, I remember thinking to this boss fight and thinking of like, honestly, I'm all in because the way that they kind of teach you mechanics and like you slowly like learn mechanics throughout the game and how it kind of crescendos in this final boss fight where you're doing a million things at once and like how good it all feels. Granted, there's some of the gravity things that like pull you in, some frustrating things like that.
Yeah.
But I remember like for the time playing that in 2016, I was like, wow, this all feels really good. It flows really well. And I remember that being like a high point of like, holy shit, I'm very hyped for Insomniac and what they do with Spider-Man. And so like
I will say
since then I'm excited for Rift Apart and how they improve upon it.
I will say my critique for that final boss fight is that it's all in air, like you're doing in the jetpack and you're floating around, which means that half the weapons are unusable. Like
totally right.
You can't use the Glove of Doom.
I came down to like I had 7% health, or no, he had 7% health left, and I was like, I have this in the bag, and then it was like click click. I was like, fuck, and I went through the entire wheel, and I'm like, shit. I flew to the final platform that was there, and I got sucked and hit. Then I had like 1 hit point, but I'm trying to get him with like anything I get. It was just terrible, and I died, and I had to do it again. I was like, motherfucker.
Yeah, I mentioned earlier, all my points were in the Protoclast, and then things like the Groovitron and the Glove of Doom and stuff that would have hinged on being
on the ground,
grounded somewhere, and I just could not use that shit. And so thankfully I beat him at 60%.
You're like done. So I'll watch the end cutscene on YouTube. I'm done with this. Joester, thank you so much for coming through today.
Yeah, it was super fun.
If people if they haven't played Ratchet and Clank 2016, do you recommend it?
Yeah, I even with like my critiques of it, like I still had a lot of fun, and it's not frustrating enough to deter me from playing, especially like I feel like it does a good job of ramping you up for stuff in the middle. Like it was a fun challenge for sure to figure out how to play. And I am kind of excited to get back and hopefully beat the last boss now.
Oh yeah. And Bless, I assume, you're still on board, right? Recommend it?
No, don't play this game. Just kidding. Yeah, go play it. Definitely play this game. It's also a fun one to play in 60 FPS right before Rift Apart is about to come out. I think now's the time.
Yeah, that's the other thing. If you have a PlayStation 5 and you want to see it, I think it's a great way to get in and look at what the game looks like. And yeah, again, like I don't know how negative we sounded while we talked about it. The gameplay, which is what you're doing the majority of the time, I super dig. Like I'm excited to see it iterated on. I don't think it's as good as it has been in previous entries of the series, but I understand why it's like that in this remake, new entry, kid game, $40 price point thing. But the real juice is going to come with Rift Apart, and I can't wait to get my hands on that. So, Joester has to go do a different show here on youtube.com/kindafunny. So while she does that, let me tell you about our sponsors. This episode of PS I Love You XOXO is brought to you by Upstart. When it comes to paying off debt, it can often feel like an uphill battle. High interest rates resulting in minimum monthly payments keep you in an endless cycle of debt. Upstart can help get you ahead. Are you carrying a credit card balance month after month? Are you not the only? Well, I'm sorry, that's not right at all. You're not the only one. High interest rates make it hard for you to pay off your debt, but Upstart can help. Join the hundreds of thousands of happy borrowers who made that final payment. Do you dread looking at your credit card statement every month? We don't blame you. Upstart can lift that weight off your shoulders so that you are finally able to feel the relief of being free of credit card debt. Upstart is the fast and easy way to pay off credit card debt with a personal loan all online. Whether it's paying off credit cards, consolidating high-interest debt, or funding personal expenses, over 500,000 people have used Upstart to get a simple, fixed monthly payment. Unlike other lenders, Upstart looks at more than just your credit score, like your income and employment history. That means they can offer smarter rates with trusted partners. I always talk about this during the Upstart read. Of course, when I moved to San Francisco a long time ago, Upstart wasn't a thing, and I needed money, and I went and got a loan. And guess what? They did not look at my employment history or my education. They just said, oh, your credit score is not great. And I got a really bad rate that took me a long time to get off my back. Upstart's not about that. With a 5-minute online rate check, you can see your rate up front for loans between $1,000 and $50,000. You can receive funds as fast as one business day after accepting your loan. Find out how Upstart can lower your monthly payments today when you go to upstart.com/kindafunny. That's upstart.com/kindafunny. Don't forget to use our URL to let them know we sent you. Loan amounts will be determined based on your credit, income, and certain other information provided in your loan application. Go to upstart.com/kindafunny. And we're back. Blessing, hit me some PlayStation updates.
PlayStation is publishing a game on Xbox Game Pass.
These motherfuckers.
I'm pulling from Xbox Wire, where they talk about how MLB The Show comes to Game Pass. We're delighted to announce that MLB The Show 21 is coming to Xbox Game Pass on day one and will be available on April 20th for Xbox Series X/S and Xbox One, as well as on Android phones and tablets via Xbox Cloud Gaming Beta for Ultimate members. Both MLB The Show 21, Xbox One, and Xbox Series X/S standard editions will be included with Xbox Game Pass, so members will be able to play the best version of the game regardless of which console they're on. And with cross-platform play in progress, you can play against others online and earn and use content across the platform and generation you choose. Greg, cats and dogs are sharing under the same roof. The cat is being put on Game Pass, and the dog may or may not like that. How do you feel?
What a fucking headline to wake up to. You know what I mean? Like, what a fucking headline to wake up to. I was one of those definitely double squint, rub your eyes again, like, what the fuck? Like, really? Game Pass? And then, of course, like, you know, I haven't seen anybody get a quote from PlayStation about this. Blessing, I know you've been doing Games Daily last week, so you would know better than me, right? But I saw Klepek, Vice Gaming, put out that, it's important that on the Xbox version, MLB is listed as the publisher here, not PlayStation. So maybe that's how it is, and it's a deal that went right there. Because they have to have their hands tied by an MLB contract here, right, Bless? There's no way PlayStation was like, yeah, this is a great idea.
Oh, yeah, 1,000%. I mean, I think that's the same reason why it's on Xbox, period, is MLB. And I think it makes sense that MLB is the publisher, both from the standpoint of PlayStation probably doesn't have the facility. Well, they probably do. Okay, let me rephrase this. They probably do have the facilities to publish it on another platform, but for them to go through the rigmarole of establishing a publishing base on Xbox is probably something that they're like, it's not worth doing. MLB, if you want to do this by yourself, go for it. Which is probably why MLB is the publisher. I imagine this is the case for MLB. Like, they want their game on Game Pass because that gets way more eyes on it and way more players into it for the first iteration of an MLB The Show game on a new platform. I think that's a really smart way to do it, but it is very weird. It's very strange. Because
it's just so fucked up. Of just like, I don't like, what I tweeted was, what a great look for Xbox and Xbox Game Pass. What a horrible look for PlayStation. And I said PlayStation Plus because we had the conversation on this very show, right? As PlayStation Plus, the true competitor to Xbox Game Pass. But you can toss PlayStation Now in there, right? PlayStation in general. Just the fact that you do have these two different ways to get people games. Why is this happening in a way like there's no, it's such a short-term solution. If in any way it was, well, we just want the money up front on a new platform. Well, we're going to sell, MLB The Show sells well on PlayStation. Obviously, it's one of the reasons I think it sells well, but it's exclusive. So they want to get it on other, MLB wants to get it on other places. And that's why they brokered this agreement to get it on other platforms. Right. But what a weird, and again, back to MLB doing it fine, but even for PlayStation not to have a statement prepared or anything to do, or just take the news on the chin and let it go, like it feels like such a kick in the face. I was just like, what? Like, why is this happening? Why would you? You can go there, and there's been so many arguments. Well, you go there, you put it out for free on Xbox, and then you make the monies off the microtransactions and stuff. Sure, that's one way to look at it, but it's more to look at like. Again, like I've been saying it for a couple months now as we've talked about it, but like it's really put up or shut up for so many different gamers on the whole, hey, so you don't understand what $70 is worth to us anymore. Like if that's the case, then like what's the argument here? In the chat, it already went by. I can try to scroll back to it and find it, right? Yeah. Corey Scott said I had 2 coworkers cancel their pre-orders. One was a PS5 pre-order. Like I don't understand the arithmetic you can look at and say to your PlayStation faithful, your PlayStation audience, and say, hey, yeah, we want $70 for you for this game. Or you could go on Xbox and get it on Game Pass and get it for $15 a month or whatever, like, and stream it on your phone and all that jazz.
I mean, you could say the same thing for Outriders. And I guess the difference here is,
but Outriders isn't made by a PlayStation studio, right? Like it isn't first party. Like, yes, that's overall for sure. And I think, again, that is the conversation Xbox is going to want us all to have again and again and again in 2021, and I'm sure into the future. But why would PlayStation give them the bullet to put in their gun kind of thing? And I don't think MLB The Show is this juggernaut that is going to like really move the needle and stuff. But it's more the fact that you have this platform that's synonymous with baseball. You go multi-platform with it. Sure, of course. People are going to pick it up for the first time and go get it. But it was more the idea, I thought, that like, well, sure, but it's still an equal playing field of this, whereas now it's loaded for Xbox.
Yeah, I mean, MLB The Show is a game that I've associated with PlayStation for a long time. Like, you don't really think of it in the same breath as Uncharted and Spider-Man and all those other ones. But even when I was rocking with my PS3 in like 2010, I remember seeing the MLB The Show commercial, seeing the PlayStation logo, and friends online or wherever would talk about that game as a PlayStation game. Like it was a thing that game was exclusive to PlayStation. Like that was an important thing. And so it coming to Xbox and then coming to Game Pass, I'm right there with you in terms of how weird it is. There are so many write-ins that we got into KFGD the day this happened where people were talking about like, hey, I don't know if I want to spend $70 on this game when it's on Game Pass. You know, like there's a lot of people on the PlayStation side that do feel burned about this, and I kind of don't know where I stand in terms of that. Mainly because we're gonna spend $70 anyway on it. But I do understand the feeling of, well, I guess I should just play this on Xbox, or should I just get an Xbox, or like maybe this is the one that pushes me to move over, which I think is very understandable.
Yeah, it's not even my I don't want to say my outrage, right? My being mystified by it is just that I don't understand how PlayStation. I wish we won't know, and the fact that we don't know, and the fact there hasn't been a statement does mean that it's totally out of their control. And whatever MLB's contract is with them, especially as publisher on Xbox, they can do whatever the fuck they want. But it's got to be this weird fucking conversation over there, right? Of like, okay, cool. Like, what do we do? Yeah. And I saw, the B Fife writes into patreon.com/kindoffunnygames and says, do you think there's a chance in hell that we see MLB The Show come to PlayStation Now or the PlayStation Plus collection before its release on April 16th, or even in a few months? I don't think contractually you can. Like, I think usually the deals I've heard about for Xbox Game Pass are cool. And PlayStation Plus and PlayStation, I don't know about PlayStation Now, but I think PlayStation Now. But I've heard in these kind of deals before that there is cool, it's exclusive to our streaming platform, our platform. So you would think that this is, as long as it's on Xbox Game Pass, it can't be anywhere else. Interesting. Which is, and not to mention, if you're PlayStation, you wouldn't want to fucking do this. PlayStation's whole argument is not, hey, you know what we need to do? we want you signing up for PlayStation Plus, or we want you signing up for PlayStation Now to get our games. That's not what they do. That's not the thing. I pulled an article over here that I already closed like an idiot for some reason. No, it's VentureBeat, April 21st, 2020. MLB The Show 20 sets record sales with real baseball on hold. This, of course, is a Mike Minotti article. MLB The Show, MLB The Show 20 has become the fastest selling game in the history of the baseball franchise, said research firm the NPD Group today. This year's edition of the show, released March 17th as PlayStation 4 exclusive, the baseball video game was the number 3 best-selling game for the month. And then it goes into like reasons why, of course, but it's just the fact that the show is the most popular baseball series in console gaming. Like, this has a platform, and so if you're Sony, no, you don't want to turn, especially if you upped it to $70 for some of these copies. You don't want to say, okay, cool, like, for parity, like, we're gonna make sure this is on PlayStation Plus. Or not, no, like, that'll be
I think that is just a bad decision from a money standpoint. Like, you would do that to keep competition, but when you look at like my reasoning for why Xbox or why MLB would do this for MLB The Show would be to expose new eyes to MLB The Show. And on the PlayStation side, those eyes are already there. If you're a PlayStation fan and you're a fan of baseball, you're a fan of MLB The Show, like, they've got you. They've had you for years. MLB The Show has been a thing that's been ongoing, and there's no need to sell you on that on the PlayStation side. Eventually, like, MLB The Show 21 will probably end up on PlayStation Plus maybe a year or two or down the road, maybe.
From what I've heard and from what I vaguely remember is that it's usually in playoff season that year's MLB will go to PS Plus or something like that to get people back in and invested, because that's the perfect time for all of like the playoffs going to the World Series hype.
October was the last one for MLB The Show 20.
And I forget who said it on the XCast. It might have been Paris, but it like MLB's mission with MLB The Show is to get more people invested into baseball. And like, you nail it, Bless, where it's like the PlayStation fans who have been sold on every iteration of MLB The Show, like myself, no matter what the quality of the games are from year to year, like, we're sold on baseball, we're in it. And this is just MLB's way to expand that. They probably see, like FIFA and Madden and all that stuff and see like their
numbers. That's why it's
year.
everywhere now, right?
Yeah, exactly. And like, I've made this joke several times, and it's funny this time around because the series is a PlayStation, is made from a PlayStation first party studio, and so like now it feels like PlayStation is getting slightly cucked in a way, and where like they have to do all of the hard work, and then they see their franchise have more fun in other places, and it's an interesting situation, and this whole situation, even before the Game Pass thing, I'm interested to see like what the reaction is going to be to the franchise between PlayStation fans and Xbox fans, since Xbox fans have never gotten this series before, and this is going to be like their first iteration of seeing MLB The Show. And it's like, oh, it's going to be all fresh and new. And with PlayStation fans, depending on what they add this year, it might just be more of the same. So it's really going to be interesting what the reactions are going to be from.
It would be wild to see the Xbox fan base overtake the PlayStation fan base in MLB in terms of numbers and concurrent players.
I mean, like,
because with it being on Game Pass,
I was going to say, that's what do you think's going to happen,
exactly,
right? Like, I don't like to bring it to Barrett's point, which is excellent. Great job, Barrett. I do want to make sure that I'm representing myself and I get a million comments of it. I totally understand why MLB would do this. And if I'm MLB and I'm the publisher and what Klepek tweeted is actually what it actually is, I 100% understand. We make all this money on PlayStation. We sold, whatever. We're the number 3 best-selling game at launch last. You're going to sell the majority of those copies again, and Xbox shows up and is like, we'll give you this giant check so you have a confirmed you're back in the black in this game, and you're going to get it to hundreds of thousands, if not millions of players who will turn it on for the first time and actually get in there and get invested and maybe spend microtransactions. Or if you don't do Game Pass for MLB The Show 2022, maybe they pick it up and buy it there. Like, I totally understand the MLB thing, and I also understand the rock and the hard place PlayStation isn't contractually. Again, we are working with what we think is happening. No one has actually said. But as this, last year or 2 years ago now, the agreement where they were like, listen, we've re-signed the deal, but we're going to put the show on other platforms, was very clearly MLB being like, listen, we see how much people love NBA 2K. We see the juggernaut that Madden is. Like, we want to be everywhere. Video games are bigger than PlayStation, and PlayStation be like, we understand that, and we don't want to lose the exclusivity, so we will do that. I get that, and then I get, all right, cool. You'll have to be the publisher on Xbox, no problem. They turned them. We're gonna put this on Game Pass. Fuck. Contractually, you can do all of this. That's what I'm so mystified by, of like PlayStation having to sit there and, to what I just said earlier, right? Not be. You can't say, listen, we hear you, and it's going to be PlayStation Plus this month too. You can't fucking do that. Like, they're looking at this for a bottom line. PlayStation can't be like, well, I guess we can cut ourselves a check. But yeah, we're just taking money from one department of PlayStation, putting it into another department of PlayStation, and make it on PlayStation Plus.
I don't know how convinced I am that it was, and again, I might be, we're all kind of speaking out of our asses.
Totally,
like,
for sure.
It's all been so quiet, but like, I'm not convinced it was Xbox who went to MLB for this. I have a feeling in my gut that it was MLB who, because like the kind of big conversations, the headlines every week is Game Pass, Game Pass, Game Pass doing so much for the gamers and being like one of the best deals in gaming right now. And, you know, probably the liaisons between MLB and the gaming industry are probably looking at that and they're like, hey, like that's a great incentive. Why didn't they do that with PS Now or PS Plus? Because it's nowhere near a competitor. And I think it's a kind of a showing of like kind of what of an embarrassment of PS Now is, to be honest, and that I'm saying that as someone who subscribes to PS Now and wants that to be such a good service. Like, it's kind of an embarrassment of like what Sony should be doing.
To try to shore you up in the comments, I think that they are competitors with PlayStation Now and what they're doing there, because you'll see every time in the comments people heated up that PlayStation Now is a better deal than Xbox Game Pass, yada yada yada. For what you're saying though, Game Pass, you know, it's a question I want to get to from Marco Australia, so actually put a pin in that one. But more importantly, you know, they wouldn't do it there because of what I was just saying, of PlayStation can't pay PlayStation and everybody's like, cool, this made us money. Like, that's not how it fucking works, right? And to your point of like, that deal doesn't work for MLB either, because they're like, well, we already have PlayStation. We want to go into these virgin lands and take expand, over, right? Yeah, exactly. However, to what everything you just said, Mark from Australia writes into patreon.com/kindafunnygames and says, hi guys, I have a simple question. When will fans of PlayStation get a huge W from PlayStation? Seems the news has been saturated with huge wins for Xbox fans and nothing for PlayStation except maybe play from home and great PlayStation Plus titles every month, which I wouldn't count as huge wins. Of course, Mark from Australia is talking right now about the show coming to Game Pass. And again, even if you don't care about baseball, number one, hey, maybe I'll try this game I've heard so much about and it wasn't on my platform before. Number two, holy fucking shit. A game made by a PlayStation first party is on Xbox, which was exciting and weird enough, but I didn't like freak out about it. But is free here and not free on their platform. Yeah. What the fuck is going on, right?
They're being being
yeah. When you said that on XCast, I was like, yeah, all right, Games Daily, whichever it was. I was like, yeah, I get that. And then it's the same thing, of like, this is on the heels of them getting Bethesda. And again, we are all talking out of our asses and we don't know. But the amount of things I've seen from people trying to be like, well, clearly they made this MLB The Show deal so that they'll get one of the, maybe this got them a Bethesda game that was going to be exclusive to PlayStation. No way.
This isn't
Phil would have laughed them out of the fucking room if PlayStation's like, all right, hey, it's me, Jim Ryan, Phil. Thanks for this meeting. Listen. Congrats on Bethesda. We would still really like Starfield though, so we're prepared to offer you the show on Game Pass.
I would love if that's how it worked, because that would be an amazing. I would love that game to like be able to sit in those meetings, to be a fly on the wall, and listen to like them barter back and forth of like, hey man, y'all want God of War? Just give us Halo and one other Bethesda game, and it's like, deal.
There's no way that was the play, because this wasn't a PlayStation deal. This was an MLB deal, strictly.
We think.
Like, yeah, we think.
There's no way.
But again,
there's no way.
Like, you bring up the point, Greg, of like the way PlayStation is handling this on their end, of like how like they have to be kind of silent. There's no way that this is anything that they wanted. So. No, there's no way they're not like they traded that off so they could get a Bethesda game. There's no way.
My question to you, Greg, would be, how much of this do you think is visible to us, since we are clued in, as an audience, since we cover this shit, versus how much of this do you think in the grand scheme actually matters to PlayStation? Because the question here is from Mark from Australia, right? When will fans of PlayStation get a huge W from PlayStation? Does it feel like we're not getting W's because we're paying too much attention and we're like being able to count the news stories day by day and do the KFGDs and see the Game Pass headlines and do all this shit? Or Like, do you think the average consumer cares?
The average consumer, I don't think, understands the difference between a publisher and a developer. I say that because I remember being an average consumer growing up and being very much like, this is a PlayStation game. PlayStation made this kind of thing. You know what I mean? And then, like, I think really, you know, my wrestling games teaching me a little bit about studios and who was making what and why I liked this one more than that. No, I don't think it matters there, but this is how Xbox wins. Insert your Uncut Gems gift there.
How we win
Is the fact that they want to keep assembling a case so that us, the evangelists, and I don't mean us, the talking heads right now. I mean us, the video game audience, you, the kind of funny best friend listening or watching this, us are there and we start playing more stuff there. You start drifting off, or even if you don't, and you're dead set on only playing on your PC with your 3080 and your RTXs. When your friend or your your friend wants to buy something for themselves, your friends want to buy something for their kid, their kids are getting into games, and they ask you, well, what would you do? And if the answer is like, well, you like baseball a lot and you don't have that much money to go around and you want more free stuff, like you remember, Netflix, there's this thing called Xbox Game Pass that is Netflix for games. Like, that's how Xbox wins. They win by not getting me to wake up one day and be like, you know what? I care about achievements and I'm only going to play on my Xbox Series X now. That's where I'm doing everything, blah, blah, blah. They'd love that. But they win by making an argument so sound that it's just like, well, of course you'd go do this way. Of course you'd go that way. And what, Mark's question is so interesting about is, when do we get a huge win from PlayStation? Because there's been so many huge wins from Xbox. I agree that Bethesda is gigantic and crazy, and I can't believe they did it. This thing, as I've already said, is crazy, and I can't believe they did it. The fact that they're actually making Xbox mini fridges now is crazy, and I can't believe they're going to do that. It is a bit alarmist and Chicken Little and the sky is falling to have come from the 2020, I was going to say the PlayStation 5, but the 2020, where we have the launch of the PlayStation 5, we have Spider-Man Miles Morales, we have Sackboy's Big Adventure, we have Dreams, we have Last of Us, we have Ghost, we have fucking games. We have games that, as you watch, like, they continue to do the BAFTAs and they continue, DICE Awards are coming up. Like, you look at the nominees for DICE, you look at the winners for BAFTAs, and you still see PlayStation cleaning up. But we live in a what have you done for me lately industry. And so it is right now, holy shit, look at all this shit Xbox is doing. But then again, you cut back and it's like, and I'm not even trolling. Cool. What are you playing on your Xbox right now? I saw Demetrius Noelle, of course, here in the chat, gifted Dim. Shout out, like, hey, and Game Pass is the reason he actually tried Outriders, right? And again, that's now maybe going to make Square some money when he buys the DLC or if it gets removed or whatever. And then you look at, what's happening here, yada, yada, yada. But it is those gateway drugs, and it is trying to turn a giant ship in your favor. So the huge wins, I think, go to a morale and pop culture publicity thing more than they do the actual, oh my God, Blessing can't be on PS I Love You this week because all he did was play Xbox. Like, yeah, there's this whole thing happening, but it is fascinating to see Xbox capitalizing on it. How much does it matter and how much does it change? And if we get to fucking the end of the year and Halo Infinite sucks, you're like, all right, well, you can still get a bunch of games for free, in quotes, from Game Pass.
Yeah, like one of my least favorite things to do on these shows is just like trying to push console wars or PlayStation versus Xbox narrative and all this shit. But like, this is naturally where the conversation is for what the news is. Like a few days ago, I was playing games with a friend who is a quote unquote gamer, right? Like, does pay attention to the industry, but also doesn't really follow the day-to-day news. They don't really give a fuck about any of this shit, really, aside from things that affects them directly. And I was surprised to hear them mention that, like, they're a PlayStation person, or at least they have a PlayStation 4. They haven't like upgraded next gen yet, but that's their main console choice. And as I was playing games with them, we were talking about. I think we're either talking about Game Pass or Outriders, or maybe it was like upgrading or something like that. And they passively mentioned, well, yeah, that's why like Xbox has won this generation, right? And I was surprised to hear that because I was like, oh, wait, have they? Like, that's not really a thing I've necessarily thought about. Because for me, as somebody who's pretty entrenched in the PlayStation side of things, and I look forward to playing Ratchet and Clank and the other PlayStation games that are coming this year, right? Like, I've not really thought of a winner, one, because we're just so early in it, and then also like I think there's just an established idea of PlayStation is going to sell more off the get-go because they already have that established fan base, and there's just more to look forward to in terms of software. But yeah, like I wonder if that becomes more and more of a common sentiment from people in terms of like the quote unquote winner of this generation when you look and it does seem like Game Pass is the best deal, and it does seem that hey, if you have an Xbox, everything works way smoother when we're talking about upgrading, when we're talking about being able to play games like Outriders or being able to play MLB The Show 21 for free. Like I wonder how much that continues to matter for them and continues to gain eyes on them, because it seems like from what I can tell from very limited talking to people about this stuff, it seems like it is pushing something. It is bringing eyes over. It is already making that turn, which I think is fascinating.
And that's the thing is, it's been the argument for so long of what do people want? And I think Xbox offers so many great services right now and is so pro gamer and yada, 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 where I think PlayStation still does offer games where I think it's easier to rattle off the exclusives. And I'm not trying to start a war either or anything like that. And you're on a PlayStation show. To rattle off the big PlayStation exclusives you're excited for this year and the big Xbox exclusives. But it is that argument of how long does that last? It's very much right now that I think it isn't being an Xbox fanboy to sit here and look at the tea leaves and be like, I could honestly see how this generation could get away from PlayStation like that, right?
Oh yeah.
If Xbox can get all of their studios together, which now includes all of the ZeniMax Media, right? Like if they can get all of them together to have a year and a half of firing on all fucking cylinders, and then gets them onto the passing the baton the way PlayStation first party studios really kicked into gear with PlayStation 4 and awesome titles. Like you'd have a fucking huge race there in terms of, all right, man, like yeah, Xbox Game Pass is amazing, and you're getting titles the quality of anything you want to put, Uncharted, God of War, Last of Us, Ghost. If you're getting all of those included with your Game Pass that you have, again, like you start talking about value, and you start talking about like when we talk about how the show sells really well, we talk about the success of Madden and all that stuff. We talk about Call of Duty. There are gamers that are mainstream gamers, and I'm not even talking shit about them. I don't know who it is, but across the way, my neighbor only plays Call of Duty. Right, every night when I'm bring down my blinds to play something, I look across, and he or she is playing, or they are playing Warzone. I couldn't tell you the difference, but playing one of the Call of Duties, right? And it's like, those gamers exist, and if the information like you're talking, Bless, gets out there of like, yeah, if they're playing on PlayStation 4 and they want to upgrade, and it is like, well, I play this and that, and then, get this one system, get this one subscription, and you're good.
I recently sold my barber on an Xbox. Like I was getting a haircut, and I was like, he was like, oh, because he knows that you do video game stuff for a living, so he was like, oh man, you playing any games recently? Like what kind of games do you play? And I was like, oh yeah, like I play X, Y, and Z. And he was like, dude, I've been looking for like some like racing games and flying games. I like vehicles and stuff like that. And I was like, I mean, if you're looking for flying, there's this game called Microsoft Flight Simulator that's gonna come to Xbox at some point. And I was like, oh yeah, if you like racing games,
Forza baby,
Forza Horizon is really good. And also,
I can't be buying all these games. Also, with the power of Xbox Game Pass, you don't need to buy these games.
Yeah, that's one thing. I was like,
go back to Burnout and shit.
I was like, if you get Game Pass, that also works if you want to get a PC, I guess. Like, I legit was selling them on an Xbox and I wasn't like, it wasn't a thing I even had to like second think about, right? It was just the thing of, no, that is the platform if you want to, if you're this type of person, which I just thought was a very, very, very fascinating thing.
And that's the kind of argument we're talking about, where it is, it went by in chat. Yeah, Christian R says, my one friend who plays Apex on PlayStation upgraded to a PS5 just to play Apex on PlayStation with better performance. Of course, that is PlayStation's strong suit, and what they want to capitalize on with the success of the PlayStation 4 is that they, even more than you right now, person who wants your PlayStation 5, PlayStation wishes beyond wish that they could have PlayStation 5s in there for people like your friend Christian to go buy that and be ready to upgrade. You know what I mean? The fact that I was talking about Poe, my best friend, but my barometer for what a normal person does in their life with video games. He wanted that PS5 at launch and he got it, and that's the first console he's ever bought at launch, and that's because he had such a great time with the PlayStation 4. But you leave that air, right? Like you're talking about with your blessing talking about with his barber, like there's a conversation to be had. And, for the neighbor over there, for the person who wants this sport game, if you're only going to buy a few games a year and those games are going to be on Game Pass, or some of them are, like, it's so much harder, I feel, to argue, like, all right, well, I would tell you to PlayStation 5 because of these first-party games like, Last of Us and Uncharted. And like, I don't know what those are, and I didn't know they're not missing from my life, and they don't matter to me. Okay, fuck. Does the other one have Red Dead on it? Yeah, the other one has Red Dead on it.
It's like, I like sports games where, well, Game Pass does have EA Play on it, and so if you're a sports game person, then like, there's a platform for you.
And you're going to continue to see the people, and I know I'm painting with a broad brush, and financials are different for everybody, but you'll see by the end of this generation, lots of, well, I shouldn't say that. If it goes a normal generation way, lots of the hardcore gamers, the people like yourself, having both, right? And you'll use them both to have whatever exclusive you want on it, but it's about getting out there and winning hearts and minds of the other people, and value propositions are usually where it's at.
Mark from Australia asked the main question, right? Like, when will PlayStation fans get a huge W from PlayStation? And Mark, let me tell you, PlayStation today announced that on PlayStation Now, you're going to get Marvel's Avengers until Monday, July 5th, Borderlands 3 until Wednesday, September 29th, and then The Long Dark also. And then you can get a 7-day free trial for PS4 and PS5 starting this Wednesday, April 7th. And so...
done. How will they respond to Xbox taking a PlayStation Studios game and getting it on Game Pass? PlayStation's like, we'll get the incredibly popular Marvel's Avengers out there. We'll get that on PlayStation Now for you, ready to go.
You put it in the doc, and like, you headlined it, PlayStation responds, adds Avengers to PS Now, and I couldn't tell if you were being serious or if that was like a bit, if you're joking.
No, you nailed it. That's exactly how I put it in there in my head.
Perfect. Greg, I want to tell you about some PlayStation picks. This is where we highlight a few of the cool looking games coming to PSN this week. Starting off with the big hitters. Remember, this Tuesday, you're going to get Oddworld Soulstorm on PS5 and PS4. That's Tuesday, April 6th, and that will be free on PS Plus if you want to play it for free. We still don't have a book club for this next month, and I don't know if you wanted to shout one out.
Great call on that one. Let's talk about it at the end of this. I meant to have the chat vote on it. Chat, start thinking about what we'll come up with our ideas, and I'll get a straw poll together.
You're also getting Star Wars Republic Commando for PlayStation 4. That's also coming Tuesday, April 6th. And then Cozy Grove. I put it under the big hitters, but this is mainly because Greg has talked about it multiple times already, so you know what it is. But that is coming to PlayStation on Thursday, April 8th.
Think of a PlayStation Animal Crossing with ghosts. There you go. And it's on other platforms, but
it's on other platforms too. And it has a really cool art style. And so it would be a pick on any other week, but because Greg has talked about it so much, I feel like I don't need to go through the description of the video.
Sure.
You've likely seen it if you've seen the show. For the picks, though, we got Lost Words Beyond the Page. That's coming to PlayStation 4 Tuesday, April 6th. An atmospheric narrative adventure written by Rihanna Pratchett, set between the pages of a diary and a fantasy story where you run on words and use them to interact with the world around you.
Ooh.
Yeah.
This sounds great, and I am liking the art style so far.
It sounds like a Greg joint for sure. If you like some narrative games with a cool art style.
I do like these things.
There you go. You think you're gonna do it? This is convincing you?
Oh yeah, no, I'm done. No, it's in. I mean,
damn,
this looks great. I hadn't heard of this.
Next up, well, I mean, it apparently won Best Indie Games and a bunch of other awards at a few conferences or something, and so you got something to look forward to there.
Thank you.
Something else you can look forward to, a game called What the Dub is coming to PlayStation 4 Thursday, April 8th. Barrett, before you play this one, I'm going to read the description, and then I want us to watch this trailer together with sound, because I am in love with this one. The description goes like this. What the Dub is a multiplayer party game where each player overdubs missing dialogue from hilariously awful B-movies, woefully outdated PSAs, and bizarre industrial films with their own witty or just plain stupid dubs. Players watch the dubs and vote on the best one. Barrett, if you can press play on this one.
Do What the Dub!
Yeah!
The game where you get the last word. Overdub hilariously awful movie clips with your best dub.
Why do you suppose Mary didn't invite me to her party?
Because you're a twerp.
Vote for your favorite.
So you basically type in what you want the dub to say. And the scene says it for you. And then it's like Jackbox, where people vote on the ones they think is funny.
We do the talking.
Who are you?
I come from Planet Boldcut. Take me to your barber.
I want to play this
Got
so
something to
bad.
say?
This is a great stream
Shout it
game,
out
but we should
in
make this one
Yeah.
of
What
your
the
stream.
dub?
This would be a fun game to stream. I
Hell
definitely want to.
yeah.
When do you do your thing?
He does Thursdays.
I do Thursdays, which is the day that this comes out. And so
Ooh.
Yeah, and
But-
that's the. I can tell
Invite
you
me,
that's the
Bless.
embargo as well. So you can do it on the.
Ooh. Let's
well,
do it,
here's the
Bless.
thing. We're playing Resident Evil 7 on my stream.
Resident Evil
Yeah, we're playing through. And
That
so
sounds
if you
like
want
a-
to do it on Wednesday instead of Outriders, if the embargo lets us.
That would violate the embargo, and we would
Damn
go to embargo jail.
Embargo jail. That's true. That's true. This is like someone loved Mystery Science Theater, and they're like, how do we turn
Totally.
this into
Yeah.
a game?
And
Mystery
God
Science
bless them, they did
Theater.
it.
And Cards Against Humanity. It really is the thing. Go get them. And then the last one for PlayStation Picks is a game called Potion Party. It's coming to PS4
Really quick,
Thursday,
Bless.
April 8th.
Yeah,
What's
Bless
that?
is breaking up,
I
right?
love you, but can you maybe click out of Discord and maybe reset Discord and then come back in?
Yep.
Thank you, Greg.
You
What's
want to
up?
just go away? We can just leave him, and then he can
Yeah,
come
should
back.
we,
and be
should we
like,
just
"Oh,
like drop
no."
out here? This is the end of the show. Just fuck with them. Nah, I'd feel
I'm good.
bad.
How are you?
I'm doing all right. Slowly going through Persona 5 Royal. A lot of people in the chat are saying Persona 5 Royal should be the book club for this month. Just saying.
It's just such a commitment. There's so much to play.
Yeah, I know. I'm 51 hours in, Greg, and I'm not even halfway through.
Oh, man, into Outriders? Damn, you're killing it, man.
No. Persona.
No.
I did want to know how far in. Can I on the
What's
the
up?
PlayStation thing now? Can the app tell me my game time, or do I only do that through the unit itself?
I've only done it through the actual console itself.
I'm
So I
using my
don't know.
backbone.
Yeah.
Do I sound better, Barrett?
Yeah, it was happening like it wasn't constant, but you would like kind of freeze up and get robotic-y like every couple sentences. So
Oh, no.
it seems to be better now.
The last PlayStation pick I'll tell you about is a game called Potion Party for the PS4. It's coming Thursday, April 8th. Potion Party is a funny couch co-op alchemy game for 1 to 4 players. Working as a team, you and your friends must manage your own alchemy shop. Earn money, upgrade your tools, decorate the shop, and become a master alchemist. Now, Barrett and Greg, tell me, after watching a little bit of gameplay of this game, tell me what this game looks like to you.
I mean, it looks like a bunch of different things.
There's a specific game that it very much emulates.
The one that Goldfarb's obsessed with,
Stardew Valley.
with Ness,
No.
Um,
You might have to fast forward a little bit.
Earthbound. That's what I was looking for.
Mother 3.
Earthbound.
Unlock new characters. I don't know. I don't know what you're going for here, Bless. I feel
Hold on,
stupid.
fast forward a little bit. Let it get into like some co-op. Okay.
Okay.
That looks like Tower Falls.
Oh, they're just
Selection.
standing around and they're just standing around. Okay, here we go.
Bomberman.
Kind of like
Moonlighter.
I'm getting like Overcooked vibes almost.
It's overcooked with potions. Yes.
Oh, okay.
The gameplay is pretty much overcooked.
Okay.
I don't know why it took a while to get there. I don't they spent a lot of that trailer just standing around, and I'm like, get into the gameplay. But yeah, no, like the sites that I've read about it seem to compare it a lot to Overcooked, and so if you're looking to play Overcooked with pixel art and making potions
with pricks.
Overcooked with pricks, there you go, Potion Party.
All right. Those are the picks. This is where we get into what you've been playing. We're going to talk about what we've been playing a little bit here, Blaz. But you bring it up. You're right. We had to get Joey out of here so fast. I forgot. We do need to pick what hashtag PSWePlayedThis will be for April. This is a big decision, Blaz, because we're talking about what we're going to play.
Persona 5 Royal. I'm also going to say, Greg, the deluxe edition is only $30 on PSN right now.
Okay. We'll take it under advisement. Ain't nobody got time for that. All right. That's what I'm going to say. Still got Outriders going on. Still going on things like that. Blessing. We've had a few different conversations. Again, so I'm saying what we do is we have right now the discussion where we bring it to the table, we talk about it, and then we put those discussion points up for a vote from the audience. Are you fine with that?
I'm down with that. Yeah.
Your internet's still being weird. You sound fine, but you keep getting freeze framed every few seconds.
He's sound robotic-y every once in a while too on my end.
That's just auto-tune. He's doing that.
Okay.
That's his new thing. He loves
That
auto-tune.
is strange.
So, Blessing, Adeoye Jr., I turn to you. What would you like to put into the conversation right now?
I mentioned Oddworld earlier, and that would be the only reason I would play Oddworld Soulstorm is if we had it as the book club. There's also Disco Elysium, which I've already started, and is a game that I would recommend anybody play.
You're saying, isn't Disco Elysium
that-
also like hella long?
50
It's
hours.
like
okay.
Yeah, it's
35,
like-
50, something like that.
Okay.
probably like 30 to 40 hours. Yeah. So
Okay.
I feel like that's a big commitment if we were to do that one. I mean, I can also think about games that are coming out this week. I mean, this month.
You know,
I
I
should
mean,
say.
I mean, you're fine. You're doing
They
great.
can be
Here's where I want to
throwbacks,
start. Here's where we want to start because honestly, and this is no disrespect to the audience,
Mhm.
the main pickers here is like, will we both enjoy it? Because it can't be a game we pick and then we're like, ugh. You know what I mean? Where we're then
Yeah,
like, this
hated
sucked.
doing that.
Yeah, exactly. Because then we just won't do it and we won't finish it and then the book club dies. That's when we lose Omega Buster. Omega Buster doesn't show up for the live shows anymore. So here's where I'd like to start. We are in What You Playing, where we talk about what we've played this week. You've been playing Disco Elysium.
I
I
have.
want you to tell me about Disco Elysium because the main question, of course, is would Greg Miller like it?
I think you would like it.
Okay.
I think you would really like it. It is a magnificently written game. So basically what Disco Elysium is, it's a CRPG. And I see like people are very conflicted on what the C stands for in CRPG. I've always thought of it as computer RPG, but apparently people will say classic RPG or other things for the C. I'm just going to say computer RPG, meaning that it's point and click, and it is a very traditional, old school styled RPG. So it's like it's top down. You like point to where you want to go in the map, and you walk around and do all that shit. Basically, you wake up as this detective who has lost his memory. You have amnesia, and so you have no idea what's going on. You wake up in a hotel. You're drunk. You have a hangover. And basically, you're trying to regain who you are, get the memories, like figure out what's going on, and then also solve this case that is going to murder case. The thing that makes it interesting is that the dialogue, like one, very well written, very very detailed writing, but then also you have like this inner dialogue going on in your head between different forms of your subconscious. And so your logic will be having conversations with, and I'm not going to do like the verbatim ones because I can't remember all the different actual things, but like, let's say your logic will be talking to your confidence, or your confidence will be talking to your I don't know, your self-esteem or whatever. Like there's like a lot of different inner workings of your mind that are talking to each other, and they'll throw out certain thoughts, and you can choose to internalize thoughts. You can depending on how your character is spec'd out, you can make certain decisions based on certain things. And so right now I'm playing as a character that is the quote unquote thinker, because I have high intelligence, basically. Basically what that means is that I have this element of my mind called encyclopedia, which means that I'm able to pull random information about the world. And so I'll be doing whatever. I'll be talking to my detective partner, and he'll reference a thing. Like he'll be like, "Oh yeah, these folks are from this side of the country." And then out of nowhere, my encyclopedia will come in and be like, "Oh, this side of the country is X, Y, and Z. They're known for X, Y, and Z," and it'll help you give context to the world. That's like the whole thing with the encyclopedia and the way that it works in my mind.
Okay.
I feel like so far it sounds very complicated, and to some extent it is a bit complicated. But once you get into it,
it is a lot to take in at first, for sure.
Yeah, it's a lot to take in, but once you get into it, it starts to click, and I'm loving it. I'm loving it so much.
I've always heard good things. Obviously, I remember when it was in Game of the Year contendership back in the day. I played the opening of it, but it was like that was before voice acting and stuff like that, obviously, because that's included in this new version. And obviously, Lucy James is obsessed with it. So it's on. Like I'm going to play it no matter what. I'm going to start it and try it when I'm there. But my concern is I don't want to, book club it and have it be that I immediately get in and I'm like, oof, I don't know about all this.
I mean, I think that could be fine, right? Like it's kind of part of the thing. I wasn't gonna. Well, I guess I've already played Ratchet and Clank, and so if I didn't finish it, it'd be fine anyway. But
Sure.
I get that. I feel that. And it's also 30 hours, which means that it is a commitment. It's
not terrible. That's better than like when we were talking about Persona. No offense to Persona. And yeah, how long to beat has it at 20 and a half hours for the main story, 29 and a half for main and extra, completion is 41.
That seems doable. And I also think you will like it when you play it.
Yeah.
Like so far the the writing has been fantastic. It has been some of the most detailed, descriptive, yet poetic writing I've experienced in a video game, and it's only been about 5 hours or 6 hours, maybe a little bit more of me playing the game. Like
the voice acting is incredible so far.
The voice acting is incredible. Like everything is voice acted. Even the inner workings of your mind are voice acted, and they have like this deep voice that kind of reminds me a little bit of Hellblade. And it has so much personality, and there's so much there to kind of chew on in terms of story and in terms of how the game doesn't hold your hands in certain moments. You mentioned earlier a while ago you were looking for a detective game.
Yeah.
And playing this game, it does feel like a detective, like a hardcore detective game in the way that I streamed the game a few days ago, and the whole stream was basically hours of me like analyzing the scene of this body that was found. And the whole time I'll be talking to my partner, us going through it bit by bit, looking at the different injuries on the body, trying to figure out like which injuries were fatal, which injuries weren't fatal, figuring out like who might have done this, all this different stuff. My character kind of coming to terms with this body's been here forever, and so it's gross. My character is kind of feeling kind of woozy because they're not used to or they've not seen something this disgusting before. The smell is so bad that my character wants to throw up, all this different stuff.
Sure.
All this is happening in the course of hours, and I felt like by the end of that stream, in the grand story, I had not really gotten anywhere. I basically had just done that, but I felt like I experienced so much in that moment. I felt like I felt like so much I felt like I had done so much in terms of the actual investigation. I felt like I had been through so much in terms of like defining my character and understanding the characters that were around me and getting information about what exactly happened to this human being that has been murdered here. Yeah. It felt like a detective game that doesn't at all hold your hand, and I that's probably the thing that I respect the most about the game is how much it trusts you as a player.
All right, let's do it. You told me that again.
All right,
that's done. All right, that's it. Disco Elysium. Hashtag PS We Played This.
It'll keep me motivated to keep playing for sure.
Yeah, how far are you, Barrett?
I think I'm only like an hour and a half in, but like it's like what I played was like really, really cool, and I'm excited to get back to it. I haven't been able to touch it since like I think the day it dropped. So,
have you left the hotel yet?
No.
Yeah, that's the thing is like when I think about all the things I've done in the game,
like I feel like I've done so much at the hotel, but
like
I've not done
I've not done shit. It feels like, but I've also done so much. Like it's crazy. Like I've gotten out the hotel, I examined a body, and that's about it. I've done a few more other things, but I'm probably 6-7 hours into the game. Like it's crazy how like I feel like I've done so much without doing so much, which makes me wonder if the game is 20 hours long, maybe even 30 hours long. Am I like where am I gonna go in the next 13 hours that are gonna carry me to the end of the game?
Would cases be a good way to like decide how big it is?
What do you mean?
Like you're saying you're just out of the hotel and you found a body or whatever. Like how would you judge how? Lucy, Disco Elysium. It's gonna be hashtag PS We Played This. It's our book club book, okay? Or game. You know what I mean? We're trying to figure out how long it's going to take us, though. Obviously, 30 hours seems to be the running thing. Blessing says it took him about 5 hours to get outside of the hotel and find the body.
Investigate the body.
Investigate the body. Is he like way behind? Is he? Yeah, he's taking.
Really?
Took her like an hour.
No way that took you an hour.
He says no way.
No way.
No way. One of us is a gamer, she said. And so it's clearly her.
And it's not Bless. It's not Bless for sure.
Barry, you're still in the hotel. You've played an hour and a half.
I haven't played 5 hours. I'll tell you that, Bless. I'll tell you fucking that.
Like I've made it out the hotel. I did the whole shit with the body. I also got in a phone call in a car. I got into multiple phone calls in the car actually. And I've talked to quite a few people. That's crazy that she was able to do all that in like an hour.
She's a pro gamer. You know
I don't believe it.
So it's going to take you 120 hours to do
also a quick reader. You know?
Maybe, that also might be it. I am listening to every single voice line because I've been streaming it, and so I've been letting it go. If I was just reading it and just like going through it like I would go through a Persona
I imagine
game,
it would
I probably would be through it way quicker.
Way faster, yeah.
All right. Well, I'm excited. That's been on the list forever, but the problem was that Outriders dropped at the same time. And I was more juiced on Outriders and continue to be. I checked it on my PlayStation via the Backbone. I'm 22 hours into that game. Level 27 or 28 right now. World tier 8, maybe 9, and then one trophy left for the story. So me and Mike are gonna beat the story tonight and then see what happens next. But we'll talk about it, like I said, Gamescast tomorrow, patreon.com/kindoffunnygames for live recording, later youtube.com/kindoffunnygames, podcast services around the globe. But I'm having such a good time with it, and I think that like obviously it's what I've talked about before, right? Of being this bombastic action movie. It's got this weird juxtaposition, right? Of there's a story that you're the star of, but then when I go play in somebody else's game or somebody's playing with me and we skip the cutscene, you do the thing, you jump on, you're replaying things like Diablo for scenarios and loot and gear. Like you were asking me the other day, like when we were playing together. So how is the story? I'm like, I've been doing the same. I've fought this stupid spider boss like 4 times now with other people. I'm not really sure where I am anymore in the story, but I'm having a great time with it. Are you enjoying it?
Oh yeah, I'm having a great time with it. It is that thing of there's so much I could pick apart if I wanted to.
Oh, totally.
I do not care at all about the story, and like there are bugs here and there that kind of get in the way sometimes. But overall, I'm having a fantastic time with it. I unlocked a pistol yesterday that is dual wield, and when I shoot at enemies, the enemies freeze. But it also does like I think it also might do like cryo damage or something else, or poison toxic damage. It does have some other indicator, and it was when I used that pistol where I was like, oh, this feels real good. I also have armor that lets me do like a dodge roll that is electrified, which is really fun. And I'm at the point in the game now where I'm starting to feel real powerful, which is real fun. And so
last night I was running through my story. I had some kind of funny best friends jump on and play with me, and there was a section where we, playing the hardest worlds here that was available, and I was just getting stomped, and they were hanging in there a lot longer, and I was like, fuck, man, like, what am I doing wrong? Yada, yada, yada. And then they were a little bit ahead of me in terms of their progression. And so in my world, we beat this boss and it dropped a legendary and it dropped a light machine gun, which is what I use. And that was, I went into the next battle and was like, fucking, oh yeah. Like, this is what I've been looking for, right? Because I've been, like, I think it's a looter shooter. And obviously, I would expect you guys to know. But if you haven't seen it, it's a looter shooter. It's, Gears meets Diablo, Division meets Diablo, all that mixed in, right? And it's got the tiered gear. It looks like Destiny, all this different shit. 3-player fire teams that you're going out and doing stuff in. But their loot system is, like, you and I were talking about it. They have such a good loot drop noise of the chung.
Yeah, whenever you get a blue or above, it's like,
and when you start getting into it, right, and you're killing these big enemies, and you hear chung, 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 like they're just dropping all this loot after you kill them. It's so good. But also, I love their crafting and mod system. So, I have this, before I got the light machine gun legendary, I was running with a purple epic that I think used to be a blue that I paid in-game currency to level up to a purple. And then, that a blue has 1 mod slot, a purple has 2. You're getting, this mod library that you can go in and apply to your different things. So you're actually in, like, you can, for your own skill tree, go through and respec it anytime. So it's like, you can on the fly just whip up a build, or if you find a move you really like or something that's working, go through and do it. And I was talking about it today on the stream. I really feel the battles you get into are obviously very much looter shooter battles, but in a lot of ways, especially with the cranked up world tiers, they remind me of puzzle rooms, where it is like you go in and you just get killed over and over and over again, but it's always this thing of like, I did it out of order. If I can just get to that captain first, take that guy out, then work my way back through the ads, use this ability, make sure I have that, and then even when I was noticing one of the fights I wasn't doing damage, right, before we died, before I went back in, I went in and changed out my abilities to be more damaging, right, and start using the, I have the light machine gun has 150 bullets in the clip before you have to reload. And I'm a trickster. One of my abilities is temporal bullets, right? That do more damage on the whole clip as long as you don't reload or switch weapons. So it was like, all right, I need to do damage. So I started using that perk along with this thing, and then building out with this mod. And it was like, you really get it's a very approachable way to be a Fran. To go in there and min-max and have a good time and be like, oh, in this very specific instance, I need to be doing something differently. What could I tweak to do it?
Well, let me look at my menu.
Well.
Yeah.
I think I love about the game too. I keep mentioning this, but the fact that it's not afraid to be a video game where you'll collect some shoes, and the shoes are like, oh yeah, and your turret lasts 5 seconds longer, and it's like, all right, makes no sense, but I dig it. Like I can use it for 5 more seconds.
Whatever you say, man.
Yeah, whatever you say. And then also I got a legendary weapon, and I'm like, oh fuck, okay, here we go. Like this is I feel like this is where the game has started for me. I've like put in, like, if I count my hours, right? Like I got 11 hours in the main game and then 4 hours in the demo. And so like 15 hours overall.
I didn't even count my demo,
Yeah, I'm like, I'm probably like level 18. I forget what level I was when I played with you, but I'm probably a level or two past that now. And I want to keep going. I want to keep playing. I'm into it.
It's definitely not the first game in a while, but it's definitely one of those games that is occupying my mind space where it is very much like, all right, can't wait to be done with work and I can't wait to do it. I saw Paris even tweet today, right? Like, it's a good game when you're like, I could probably get in a mission before work or before this call or whatever. Like,
I thought the same thing this morning.
Yeah.
Over the weekend playing Ratchet and Clank, I kept having the thing of, man, I wish I could just play Outriders right now, but I am enjoying Ratchet and Clank, and so it was a great gaming and entertainment weekend for me too, because I watched Invincible and Falcon and Winter Soldier, and so it was just a great time overall. But yeah, I couldn't stop gaming just because I was like, okay, once I get a little bit tired of Outriders, I just roll in Ratchet and Clank. Once I get a little bit tired of that, I just roll into the other one. And when toward approaching the end of last night, when I was getting ready for bed, I was like, man, I wish I could just keep gaming.
Totally.
I haven't had this in a while.
I was again, that kind of funny crew I was running with last night. Thank you all for your help. Like, we started and we were together for like 9 o'clock till 12:30, and it was that thing where at 11:45 I was like, I looked at the trophies. I'm like, this is the final trophy. So if this end of the game's coming up, like I can probably push through and beat it with them, and did that thing, where it's like, all right, it's getting late, but I'm gonna keep going. And, did the giant battle, all this shit, all these ads. You get there, like cutscene of you opening the big doors. And I'm like, here we go. Pay off to this trophy. And then we go into, whatever the end game is for it. And it was literally like, all right, cool. And then they like open another door and there's like a thing over there. Like, we got to go to that thing. I'm like, all right, I'm going to bed. Like, I'm not going to put in another 3 hours tonight. I'm exhausted already. We'll see what happens though. I'm very excited. And yeah, like I said, way more tomorrow with me, Blessing, Snowbike Mike, Khalif Adams, Joey Noelle, Andy Cortez, all on the Kind of Funny Games cast review of Outriders. So look for that tomorrow. And then on, youtube.com/kindoffunnygames and podcast services Wednesday. Blessing?
Greg.
It's time for hashtag PS I love photo mode. This, of course, ladies and gentlemen, is where we give you a challenge. We say we all love photo mode. We all love taking screenshots with the create button on your PlayStation 5 or the old share button on your PlayStation 4. We're going to give you a game for you to go take photos in. You go and do it, and then you tweet them with the hashtag PS I love photo mode. We look through them. We pick runners up and a winner. The winner gets nothing. The runners up get the exact same prize, and it's talking about it here and showing it to you. Blessing, you picked It Takes Two 2 weeks ago. Who has won?
So let's start off with a couple of the runner-ups. I'm going to start off with Nick, aka Roy, at I'm Roy Enk on Twitter. They have this fun one. It's in the Beehive in the game. It's the two main characters kind of standing back to back. The fun thing about It Takes Two is that since the game is split screen, you kind of have to work around that to try and
there's no photo mode, right? So it's just about actually having fun with it.
Just having fun with it and having a good screenshot. But the game is super beautiful. I know we've talked about this before, especially during the review, that the game just looks really good. It looks really polished, especially if you're playing on next gen consoles. And yeah, like they capture here. Nick captures here a really good moment in within the. I don't know if I say if this is within the hive, or I guess it's within the tree in front of a hive. But yeah, it's a really good shot here. The lighting within the hive looks really cool and made for a really cool shot. And so shout out to Nick. I got another one here. Another runner up from Daniel Navaroli on Twitter. They have one standing outside the tree. The thing I like about this one is that you're getting two separate angles, two separate shots in one. In the first one, it's zoomed out a little bit from the two main characters, but they're standing on a tree branch together. And then the second screen, you're kind of looking up from their feet upwards to the tree above them. And both of them, I think, are both the shots that we get in these two in this side by side. I think are really cool angles. Make for a fun dynamic. And then our winner is from Connor Knowles, who I should shout out, has been killing it on PSLF photo mode. I think Connor Knowles is a name I recognize and shows up often. They figured it out though. They got to one of the areas in the game. They found one of the areas in the game that does actually get rid of the split screen and have both characters on the same screen at once. And it is within the clock level, if you recognize that, and it's a very beautiful level. A lot of good lighting here, and it's them standing on a glass surface in front of the clock in the background. It looks really cool, really well lit, really good colors. You killed it, Connor.
Beautiful. Great job, Connor. Congratulations. I'm up next for the next week here, and so I'm going to be boring as I always am and usually just pick the game I'm playing. I'm going with Outriders. And again, another game that doesn't have photo mode, so you have to be super crafty on it. I've been doing a lot of screenshots. I'm happy with the face of my character. And then once in a great while, I'm happy with the outfit she's in. Seeing as how you're totally at the whim of what has the best stats and how this is going. Why doesn't every fucking game have a transmog option? I do not know. It's a weird thing not for a game like this to ship with and not understand. But I think they also want the legendary, outfits you'll get eventually to matter. But I don't fucking care. I want to look like how I want to look. But Outriders is the challenge. Get out there.
Does that game have photo mode?
It does not. No.
Damn.
But I think you have a better shot at getting some cool shit of like things getting exploded and skeletons getting revealed. But we'll see. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it'll be garbage. Let me know when if you have garbage screenshots, tweet the garbage screenshot with the hashtag PS I hate photo mode, and I'll see that.
And hashtag Starfield 2021.
I'm just gonna type down here because I know we'll forget. Hashtag PS I hate photo mode.
Good job.
I don't know why I spaced that out.
yeah. Hashtags usually don't work with spaces, but I'm glad you figured it out at the end.
PS I hate
Ladies and gentlemen, that's another episode of PS I Love You XOXO in the books. Blessing, thank you for your time.
Thanks for having me.
Everybody go thank Joey Noelle on Twitter at Joey Noelle for coming in to talk about Ratchet and Clank. Of course, always pleasure to have her on the show. She'll be on tomorrow's Gamescast, like I said. We will be reviewing Outriders, so come be a part of that. Of course, you can be a part of PS I Love You XOXO each and every week. YouTube.com/kindafunnygames, roosterteeth.com, podcast services around the globe to pick up the show. But hey, that'll have ads. Hey, that won't have the post show we're about to do. If you want that content, along with the ability to write in, along with the ability to watch live like Joshua G, Demetrius Newell, Slightlier Door, go to patreon.com/kindafunnygames. Over on patreon.com/kindafunnygames, you can ask your questions. You can be on the show. You can, of course, write in. You can do all that stuff. Get it free. All the stuff I just said. Then they got the ads. You know what I'm saying? No ads. I mean, pew, 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 pew. Outriders.
You're doing Outriders.
Yeah, exactly. I'm outriding that. Ladies and gentlemen, we got a post show to do over on patreon.com/kindafunnygames. But until next time, it's been our pleasure to serve you.